well. What a move from the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another evening of absolutely epic and entertaining racing action in the 2026 Motorsport UK Esports Rookie Sportscar Cup, powered by the Sim Racing Collective and supported by the official prize partners of Simagic and Phil. We're back once again, it is Monday evening and it is time for round number 2 of 5. But where exactly have we made our way to today? We've made our way all the way, of course, to none other than Norway for the Rudskogen Motor Centre Circuit. The premier circuit in the country, located in the southern section of Norway to enable racing to continue for more hours over the course of a year than any other Norwegian circuit. It is a circuit that's 2.02 miles in length and is absolutely loved by locals for its ability to present an absolutely tantalising technical test. With overtaking around here proving difficult, a solid qualifying lap is going to be absolutely key, and for our drivers, whether it be in their MX-5s in the Rookie Sportscar Cup or the supporting Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy in their Clios, you know our drivers are going to need to deliver from the very outset, as always overtaking is definitely going to prove to be just as much elbows out as it is going to be about careful craft. Alas, where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in tonight, and one of the free places available to you, of course. Firstly, we do have the 2 official Motorsport UK Esports channels, one of which is on YouTube, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube on youtube.com and search for Motorsport UK Esports. Alternatively, we do have the official Motorsport UK Twitch channel, and as on Motorsport UK Esports at twitch.tv, and how to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. Alternatively, you may be tuning on YouTube as well via the Sim Racing Collective YouTube channel. But regardless of what platform you're tuning in on, of course, all your racing action will be brought to you by myself. My name is Paul Walsh. I'll be your host and commentator this season. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into the thick of it and continue the story from absolutely scintillating Snetterton. But to continue that story, of course, let's give you a quick look at the schedule for today. All your times in UK time, that's BST or UTC +1. And as we can see, we're just in the throes of qualifying for the Hot Hatch Trophy for the Sim Racer Collective, our support series, and that's due to close in approximately 6 minutes' time, after which we'll make our way to the grid for the one and only race, 30 minutes in duration. After that, we'll have a brief break, approximately 10 minutes, after which we'll then be making our way back for our main event. Of course, it will be the Rookie Sportscar Cup for 2026, qualifying set to get underway at 8 o'clock. We'll cover a little bit of that. We'll make our way to the grid for the first there 2 races, 2 20-minute races back to back, and the first though is due to get underway at 8:15, the latter of which 20 to 9, and after that we'll get in some interviews with our rookie drivers. But as we make our way into this round, of course, a quick recap of our calendar, and as we can see, well, Rudskogen Motor Centre is on the cards today after the Snetterton circuit in our season opener, and one open it was in both our championships. And after this round, of course, we head to Germany in a week's time for the Motorsport Arena Oscherslebens Grand Prix circuit. But let's stay now here and heartily in the present. Of course, all of this brought to you on the official sim racing platform known as iRacing, one of the very best, the premier platform available on PC. And well, in terms of our host circuit for today, what a circuit we have in store. It's Rudskogen Motor Centre, located in the municipality of Rakkestad in the Ostfold of Norway. 2.02 miles in length or 3.25 kilometres depending on your preference units, but what never changes is the number of corners, a grand total of 14, and a huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely fantastic track maps contained within it. As you can see from a simple diagram, 2-dimensional, it is a very technical circuit with slaloms, sweepers, and also a hairpin or two, and very short straights as well. So overtaking opportunities definitely will be in limited supply. But with a quick reminder of our rules, of course, for our Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy, we've got the 8-minute qualifying session, 3 laps available to all of our drivers, after which they'll then make their way to the grid for a 30-minute race. Setups are fixed, everyone is running an identical car. There's one fast car available should they need it for picking up damage. The starts will be standing starts, and we'll see the instant points at 17 instant points for a drive-through penalty, and then at every 10. But that's a quick recap of the rules and regulations. We haven't really got time for those. We've got time for some good old racing, and let's make our way back to circuit side, ladies and gentlemen. And as we get ready to see the remaining portion of qualifying, well, let's be up to speed with the championship standings for the Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy. And well, as we can see, Andrew Pike, after taking the maiden win of the season last time out at Snetterton, albeit of course aided with the contact between Thomas Hill and Kieran Sharp, the main two belligerents at the front of the field. He's taken the early lead on 30 points to 24 of Hill. Behind Hill, it's none other than Adrian Borowski, who spent the majority of the race sat behind Hill waiting for an opportunity to pounce, but it never quite came. So the Polish driver in third, head of Craig Twardock and Matt Shepperton to complete the top 5, with Shepperton and Twardock definitely getting their elbows out, but Twardock proving to be the fiercer of the two and running away in fourth. Shepperton complete the top 5 at Snetterton. Now we do see Ian Rankin, Kieran Sharp, Leo Aina, James Stowe Radford, and Byron Forrest II completing a top 10. Outside that top 10, Patrick Gallick, of course, the official commentator broadcaster for the Clio Cup Strength for Field race in the Irish Official Series, and well, he's in 11th place ahead of Janos Svenzel, with Philip Moroz, Conrad Kula, Julian Rehrberger, Artem Furman, Tony Preston, Jay Walsh, Tom Davidson, and Lenny Hansen completing those with points to their name. And let's not forget, we've got several other drivers with yet score any points, including Luciano Gonzalez, Harry Mason, Harley Butcher, Ben Brown, Michael Luke Jackson, both of which making a debut as of this round, and also there Kieran O'Reilly and Alan Duhick. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, well, it's time to focus on what's going on out on the circuit. And as we do see our drivers out there at the moment, who's looking to be on course to pole position? We're only 1.5 minutes to go of this qualified session. Well, currently it's the man who looked to be on course of pole when he took it at Snetterton. It's Kieran Sharp looking very quick out there. He's looking at the sharp end of the field, not to pun his surname, as he makes way across the timeline this time. Does he improve even further? He does, to a 33.79. So Kieran Sharp right now absolutely blitzing it, some would say. As Patrick Gallick, meanwhile, he's looking quite quick out there today. And I had the pleasure of catching up with him in the build-up to this round to discuss all the secrets of the Clio Cup car. And when he divulged them to me, albeit we'll see if we can weave some of those into the commentary at some point, as he makes way through turns 1 and 2, but he's on a cool down that now. He'll be starting at 5th at the highest. Andrew Pike, Camille, this could be a TSRC 1-2 here, as the Renault Laguna Tribute livery car from the 1999 British Touring Car Championship, where he decides to cool things down then his Nescafe Special Blend 37 machine. As he does, he's potentially starting in 2nd place, but he's still got a few more drivers out there. Tony Preston yet to get a valid lap on the board. He's currently in 21st as classified, and the same for Matthew Sheraton, who has not got a lap on the board at all, so they'll both be starting from the very back here, unless Preston could get a lap in right at the end. He is on a personal best right now as he rolls his way down in towards the hairpin. As he does so, coming on through the corner, we'll have to wait and see what it's going to be at the very end of this qualifying session, because right now he's yet to get a lap on the board. If he can get a decent lap in, he could find himself right inside the top 10. Now, a lot of drivers not big fans of the Rudskogen Motor Centre because of how technically challenging and demanding the circuit is. You always seem to find that, and with only 15 seconds left on the clock, something tells me that Tony Preston may not be making it the distance here. He may just fall short. Well, if you're a Tony Preston fan, ladies and gentlemen, you may want to look away or stare intently and try to egg him on, because it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Is he going to make it? The answer is, I'm not sure. I don't think he did. Yes, he did, in fact. And Tony Preston will be taking 19th on the grid. They're literally getting a lap in right at the end. But that is qualifying complete for our Hot Hatch Trophy. And with qualifying is done, that can only be one thing. It's time for race number 1 on our schedule. It's time for the Hot Hatch Clio Cup machines to make their way out into the circuit. And as they grid up, well, this is how they'll all line up for their 2nd round of the season. Here's Kieran Sharp, who takes pole position once again. 2 out of 2 for pole position so far for TSRC, and he'll be joined on the front row by Andrew Pike. Janos Svenzel starts in 3rd place, and indeed they complete a leading trio, but behind them it'll be Adrian Borowski there in 4th place and breaking up the TSRC trend. Behind the Polishman it'll be the Austrian of Patrick Gallick, and well, he'll be happy with that for Mr. Apex Motorsport. Head of Craig Twardock, who starts in 6th place for TSRC. In 7th it's Thomas Hill for 0 Point Racing, ahead of TSRC Esports is Tom Davidson. And then we will see starting in 9th place on this grid Conrad Kula with a better qualifying performance today, only 4 tenths 3/10 of pole position as well. It's very tight here for pole. And then you've got a sizable 3/10 gap to Leo Einer there for Leo Einer Motorsport, who completes your top 10. In 11th, we have Julian Rehrberger there for Mr. Apex Motorsport, ahead of Ian Rankin. And outside of that top 10, starting in what will be 13th place, or indeed we outside the top 12, we should say, it'll be Jane Stone Radford for the Dogs, ahead of the privateer of Philip Moroz. We'll then see from the Russian, it'll be the Britons of Ben Brown for Onage Racing and Wheelchair Racing's Lenny Hansen. Then we do see Artem Fomin starting in 17th place, the privateer just ahead of Michael Luke Jackson. Then we Tony Preston with that last gasp qualifying lap starting 19th place, ahead of Harry Mason for the Dogs. And yet to get a lap on the board, he will be starting from the very back of the field. It'll be Matt Sheraton for Aztec Racing, and he's got a lot of work to do from the very back. But the gridding procedure is almost complete, ladies and gentlemen. We're just waiting for the last couple of cars, and particularly for our pole sitter to get into position. But as we wait for him, we look on board here for Andrew Pike. Indeed, that looks like a long running towards turn number 1. It really isn't. The grid is set then. It's time for the lights. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 lights. And it's lights out. Away we go for the second round of the 2026 Hot Hatch Trophy, brought to you by the Sim Racing Collective. And as Kieran Sharp gets a good start there, Andrew Pike right now doesn't get the best of starts. Janos Wenzel looking up his inside already. So here they go in towards the opening braking zone, and as they do, all of our Clio's right the way through. He's in an Napa Racing machine there, trying to go defensive. That's Craig Todd holding off what is none other than Thomas Hill. And I think he's trying to make a move on Patrick Gallick, who gets his score a little bit wide there for the opening corner. Harry Mason's had a bit of a difficult start. He's fallen down the field, but Kieran Sharp's running away. Further back up down the order, we see Lenny Hansen fighting side by side with Michael Luke Jackson. But as they make the way in towards turn number 2, the tricky long right-hander. This is the corner that can catch out of many a drive, particularly when you've got cold tyres and cold brakes. A bit of run wide there from Leo Einer, but he's going to get it back together as soon as he possibly can. And now up into the slalom sequence. This is where going too wide can cost you a huge amount of time. You've got to be on the inside at the right time to make this count. Michael Luke Jackson now attacking Philip Moroz, with Tony Preston falling back. In fact, Preston's had a brilliant start. 2 places gained there by the priority in the 333. Now holding Artem Fomin for close company behind him for the Dogs. But as they make the way through the corner, well, a bit of a lock up there for a driver in front. I think that was Luke Jackson having a small lock up. And meanwhile, Janos Wenzel, he's in third at the moment. Some small micro lock ups there from drivers. And these Clio Cup cars have no anti-lock braking system, no ABS, so the drivers have got to modulate the braking themselves. But meanwhile, we've had a bit of difficulty with Artem Fomin. He's not on camera. There he is. He's also almost made his way to the gravel trap at the hairpin. Not quite sure how he got there, but you can see he's getting himself back up to speed. It's been a difficult start for him. But as they make their way through, this being a 30-minute race, well, of course, positioning on the open lap will prove important. And after that, everyone will be absolutely pushing as hard as they possibly can. But making the way now on to the start for this straight. 1 lap down, plenty more to go here as they make their way across that timeline. And hello to a number of you in the YouTube chat, including Switch224 and also to Vicky400. Who's all set for the Rookie Sportscar Cup race a little bit later on today. But right now, everyone absolutely giving it their all in the Clio Cup machines for the Hot Hatch Trophy, as we see Thomas Hill right now in 6th place. But the order is as follows then. Your top 10, Kieran Sharp, who leads. He heads off into distance ahead of Andrew Pike, followed by Janos Wenzel. Then we have Adrian Borowski ahead of Craig Todd, with Thomas Hill complete your top 6. Patrick Gallick 6 and 7 ahead of Tom Davidson, followed by Leo Einer. And then we do have Conrad Kula completing your top 10, with Ian Rankin best of the rest in 11th place. But as they make the way through that long right-hander, turn 2 in towards 3. Now it's the uphill sequence. You can see there, nobody getting an opportunity to go too wide this time. The open lap was an opportunity to make a lot of places. This time it's now about following the leader, and that's the hard part of this circuit, in the fact that you glue yourself to the back of the car in front until you think it's the right time to pounce. Speaking of which, we ride aboard here with Matt Sheraton, started from last place, 21st on the grid with no lap time set, and the only driver not set a lap in qualifying, and get a bit too close to the back of Ben Brown there, and well, nose to bumper. And as they make the way in towards the hairpin, will he go for a lunge here? Now he's got some braking tyre temperature. The answer is no. Too far back there. Even the most first-class stamps wouldn't achieve that. Big sliding lock up there from Ben Brown, getting very close to the back of Michael Luke Jackson. And what's very interesting about these cars as well, what Patrick was telling me, indeed, he's literally given me a wonderful crib sheet of notes to work off of. I'm going to give 100% credit for all of it, and definitely do check him out with regards to his work he does for the Clio Cup, keeping the community very much alive. Well, he was saying to me about the fact that these cars, front engine, front wheel drive, and indeed, what you want to do with them going out of corner is be very patient on the throttle. You need to get the car turned through the corner, and if you do so, well, then you're able to get the throttle down nice and gently, and you build it up gradually to 100%. You do not want to be eager on the throttle, otherwise you will cook the tyres very quickly, and that's what we saw at Stetson. A lot of drivers towards the end of the race, particularly in the final 5 minutes of the 30 minutes available, they had definitely cooked their tyres. Matt Sheraton right now trying not to cook anything up other than a good overtaking opportunity as we look back from the rear. Michael Luke Jackson Running 15th place at the moment, feeling a bit of pressure here from both Brown and Cheverton, but it's Cheverton really pushing Brown into the back of Luke Jackson here in terms of that pressure stagnation. As it comes down the hill this time, well, it's going to be Luke Jackson going a little bit defensive there, and he's going to understeer, but he gets it still to the break. Cheverton on the inside there, lovely move from Matthew Cheverton, and that's going to take him in the place there versus Ben Brown, just like that. Another place gained, and more to come surely from the Aztec Racing Red Machine, the 390 car. One on the order, but meanwhile back to the front of the field we go, and what we see Kieran Sharp right now definitely just trying to manage the gap, and the game plan I think here is going to be to take it easy. Oh, that's not taking it easy for Craig Tardock. He goes very deep there at the hairpin, and well, thankfully everyone takes space of action, and will very quickly they all thread back into each other, but this suddenly causes the battle to explode onto our screens. Thomas Hill dives up the inside of Adrian Brasky. We also see a big lock up there. I believe that may have been from Craig Tardock trying to beat Tom Davidson to the apex, and once they come through 13 into 14 here, Thomas Hill up into fourth place, but look at how this has opened up a gap to the top three. It's now the best part of 1.6 seconds there from third to fourth, and Thomas Hill's got to try and settle the ball down behind. He's got to try and get them all to work for the mutual good here, or for the greater good, as we like to say, of chasing down those podium places. But of course, it's one thing to be the leader, it's another thing to orchestrate a very hungry pack of race drivers behind you, and that's going to be the problem he is now confronted with. Can he get them all to drive to the sing and tune of how he wants to race? Well, I get the feeling they all feel a little bit compliant here, but I'm sure in the final 10 minutes we may suddenly see a few frustrated faces. Matt Cheverton making another move here. This is going to be to try and take on Michael Luke Jackson inside to outside of turns 1 and 2. It's going to be a drag race down the hill here. Cheverton definitely putting on display as he makes his way down, and right now he's on the outside. Luke Jackson on the inside of the all-white machine. Here they go into the braking zone, and as they do, all Cheverton's got to do here is hold that line. He should have this move done, but Luke Jackson right now is going to try and poke his nose in. He does so. Now Cheverton's got to commit here to his line. He cannot afford to worry, and that works out very nicely, because what you can see there is a Luke Jackson, yes, he can be on the inside for return number 3, but he will understeer if he keeps the power down. He'd understeer to the side of Cheverton's car, and they'd both be going to the steward's room. And I can tell you one thing, well, be it Luke Jackson would very likely be told that he's in the wrong as a result of that, and that's why to back off there. Brilliant move from Matt Cheverton, a very decisive move, and Luke Jackson, knowing that, he pushed it as far as he could, hoping that Cheverton would make a mistake, but Cheverton doesn't normally make mistakes, and Luke Jackson goes deep, and Brown does as well, and Brown was looking around the outside for a switch back there, but followed Luke Jackson off the road, and Lenny Hansen gets a 2-for-1 special there. The wheelchair racing driver moving forward, lovely new livery on that car as well for this round, as he makes way through in the number 69, and definitely a nice move. But back to the front we go. Top 3 breaking away still. Now almost 2 seconds clear. Yados Svens at the back of the group, Kieran Sharp at the front, and Andrew Pike the filling in the sandwich as they make their way on towards lap number 5. Thomas Hill 2 seconds behind. He and Adrian Borowski with him. But remember, these two worked together at Snetterton until they couldn't work together anymore, because of course the race was running out of time, and I get the feeling that's going to be the game plan here today. Behind, we have had Tom Davidson trying to make a move on Ian Rankin. It's almost worked out, as we do see the TSRC Esports drive going around the outside of the privateer, and the 248 right now. Well, that's a tribute livery there, if I've seen one, and I believe that is in dedication to the 1996 Laguna livery run by Renault Williams as part of their BTCC campaign back then. He's going to look up the inside, but is he going to have enough leverage under braking? The answer is yes, because it is going to be a run wide there from Tom Davidson. But hold the phone up, we have lost Adrian Borowski from this race. I believe he's had a technical issue with the car, and I believe he's had to park up on the exit of turns 2 and 3. Unfortunately, we can't get a camera shot of that, and Borowski might be out of this race, and if so, that is gut-wrenching for the Polish driver, who was doing so well to be inside what was the top 5, and suddenly his race is all fallen apart. But what it does do now, of course, is it opens up opportunities for other drivers. One driver's lost is another's gain, but we never want to see a loss like that. But Ben Brown right now trying to battle still with Luke Jackson. He wants to get past here. These two absolutely brilliant, they're battling, but Brown finding, oh, that's a bit of contact between the two of them. Brown tried to turn in, Luke Jackson was still there. He will get it done in the end, will Ben Brown, but not the way he wanted to get done. I think the two of them have a bit of a chat afterwards, but meanwhile Otin Forbid making a bit of a move there versus Tony Preston, and the BWT privateer driver getting that done. A lovely livery on the car, in tribute of course to BWT with Alpine, their Formula 1 team, and we're right now Foreman making some progress up after a difficult start. But of course, in terms of difficult starts, we're here still in the live pictures for you, ladies and gentlemen, but we need to take a look back at some of the big moments from the start of the race, and without further ado, let's take a trip back in time and see what exactly happened when the green flag came out. So this was how we got underway, and as we do look to the blimp view, well, it was Kieran Sharp, of course, so all we had to do, like launching any of these Clio Cup cars, is essentially put the clutch fully down, put the throttle to the metal, and then release the clutch. And we did so brilliantly there, did Kieran Sharp, and meanwhile, it was all about testing reactions, and Janos Svens were almost beating Andrew Pike in terms of the reaction game, and almost beating him into turn 1. But all the field, then Constantine had into the opening corner. Matt Sheraton there, of course, started from the very back of the field, and Harry Mason, unfortunately, having a bit of a difficult start to his race. And indeed, the car stalling down the grid for the dogs, so did not get going at all. So Mason had to tow to the pit lane. There was a technical issue with the car, and well, Mason now having a stall. We only just briefly caught that, but then there was a bit of difficulty for Artem Fomin towards the back of the field in towards turn number 2, if my memory serves me correctly. And this was Artem Fomin going wide, going wider, still going very wide, and he did a 3 wide, and well, it was a bit of a tight squeeze between them. In fact, there was not Fomin going wide. My apologies. He found himself in the midst of a fight, and then he was able to squeeze his way past what was Matthew Sheraton. So what exactly went wrong for Artem Fomin? And well, this was later on the open lap. This was coming down towards turn number 9, and Sheraton was looking one way, then the other, and Sheraton switched back to the inside. Fomin came in very hot on the brakes. Oh, that was a bit of a difficult one there. Tony Preston being clipped with Fomin's car. Fomin coming in too hot, and cold brakes there, no ABS, and just like that, a bit of over-enthusiasm, definitely catching him out. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we head back to your live racing. So, some big moments at the start of this race, but we've still got plenty more to go. We're 10 minutes in, and Craig Twardock right now attacking Thomas Hill as much as possible. Hill, of course, losing his dance partner of Adrian Borowski, who we believe is now fully out of this race, unfortunately, due to a technical issue with the car. It was parked up, and it has been scooped away, and as these drivers continue to make the way on through, we'll still more fighting to come between them all. But as we do see, Twardock heading through the corner, and go through the right-hander. Well, right now, it's definitely looking as though for Craig Twardock, it's all going to what is a battle towards Thomas Hill as quickly as possible. He's going to give it everything he can here, Twardock. And, well, I think the full process will be that if Hill's not quick enough, he will definitely tell what will be Thomas Hill, look, you need to get a move on, because otherwise I'm going to come through you. Now, I do see we've got George Dale there cheering on Thomas Hill, and to be fair, well, if it wasn't for that little contact between himself and Kieran Sharp on what was lap number 2 at Snetterton, we reckon that Thomas Hill may have had the edge over Sharp in the long-term pace, as that's a big lock up there. The rear right tire dragging its way out the hairpin, and here comes Craig Twardock 2 wide they go, and as they make the way over the crest in towards turn number 12, which way is it going to be here? And it's still a few little micro lock-ups there for what is Thomas Hill, but in the end, I think Hill is going to still hold it, and he does there. Brilliant defensive drive from Hill. Craig Twardock, in fact, loses out, goes very deep at turn 13. Patrick Gallick now saves the day, and Leo Aina is going to be there, as is Craig Twardock and Conrad Kugler. So, Twardock went on the offensive, lost out, and now here they go, as Twardock decides to take the rallycross approach down the start-finish straight. That's not legal, and suddenly realises this is rallycross, this is motorsport on roads, and well, it's road racing at its finest as they make their way towards turn number 1. But Twardock looking for some space. It did exist. I think he would argue he was elbowed off the road a little bit, but either way, that's definitely not the way you want it to go. Leo Aina right now is absolutely enjoying this. I think the LAM team are going to be sat their feet themselves right now. Go on, Leo. Go and give it some. And well, he's definitely giving it some to Craig Twardock at the moment as they head down in towards turns 2 and 3. Of course, the British driver at this point going quite defensive here, and this is going to enable Gallick to pull away in 5th place, but I don't think Aina's going to be worried about that. Given he started 10th, now up to 6th place, and he's definitely thrown himself all in at this, and it's understandable here that Twardock right now all over his rear bumper. And Q9, of course, they can make little micro taps to the back of each other. They can give each other little nudges and also bump draft their way on straights, which is essentially where 2 cars are driving in a straight line. The car behind the lead car is going to bump it on the back to transfer some speed to help it forward, which you would see, of course, more towards NASCAR and over racing disciplines, but you can see it on long straights potentially in these Clio Cup cars. But right now, of course, any bumping like that into a braking zone would be a no-no, and work calls an instant, as meanwhile, not that instant there. That's side by side between Kula and Davison as they come out of the hairpin. And as they do, I get the thing Conrad Kula and Davison right now will lose what we Twardock and Aina as a result of their battling. But more fighting to come between these two. They definitely enjoyed themselves out there, and we're having a good old ding-dong scrap. But who's going to come out on top of it? That's going to be the big question. The way on out at the boat as well. Well, the other feature to keep in mind with these Clio Cup cars is you want to upshift them very early in their gearboxes. 5,500 is the RPM limit for what is the upshift. You can go much higher than that. I do believe you can go all the way up to around 7,500 before you hit the red line. But you don't want to go anywhere near that whatsoever. And the idea being here, you want the peak power, and that is found at 5,500 RPM, and that's where you get all the best out of it. But of course, for these cars as well, front engine front wheel drive, sometimes being in a higher gear for a quarter, for quarter X in particular, actually actually helps you get the better traction because you're not trying to force too much power through the tyres. It's a bit of a balancing act to be done. You're chasing the RPM band at the same time as well. You're making sure you don't want to be in the wrong gear. But right now, not putting the gear wrong so far. Kieran Sharp still leading this race. And here's a TSRC 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Albeit, remember, there is no teams championship in this. This is purely a drivers championship. But of course, our drivers are more than welcome to represent a team of their choosing. And right now, Kieran Sharp holding on here, trying to make up for the loss of Snetterton. Albeit, Andrew Pike right now, I'd like to say about that, he would definitely love to make it 2 in a row. But going through the hairpin once again here. No change in the between these drivers. And well, it does seem as though it's still a bit of a calm before the proverbial storm. Craig Twardock here right now, still trying to find his way past Leo Aina. Aina really digging it at the moment, and you've got to respect the way Aina's driving. He's definitely going to be using up all his tyre life on the front tyres, but he's wanting to make sure Twardock doesn't get through. And that's the thing about Craig Twardock. Twardock right now, if you want to gauge of how good your defensive driving is, you need to try to hold off the man in the number 200. He will put you through the ultimate defensive driving test. And he's one of those drivers who knows the absolute limit for defensive driving, and he's one of those drivers as well. He is a little bit of a Jason Plato in the way he drives, which is, we like to refer to him sometimes as TSRC's own Dick Dastardly, in the way he does sometimes really do those cheeky moves that you think to yourself, I'm going to report you to the stewards, and then realise afterwards, but if you do, the stewards are probably going to throw it out. Not because they're biased or anything like that, just simply because it'll be seen as a racing incident. He knows that fine line, but it takes some time for it to get there, and that's what Ida's now having to wait and deal with as we ride on board with the man we're talking about, Craig Twardock, as he looks around the outside. Here they come down towards turn number 2 once again. We have had a bit of difficulty for Tony Preston, and that's happened off camera. We'll come back to that shortly, but Twardock looking around the outside here, going all in. He's going to try and find the space. Well, now, how's he going to get through turn number 3? Does Ida extend it through the corner? He does, but he has to park up an apex there. He can't go any wider. And in Craig Twardock does make that move work. Brilliant move there from Craig Twardock. Finally found that outside line, and now he's up into 6th place. But will he stay there for long? Ina, I think, is going to want this back as they come through turn 7 into 8. He's going to throw the car up the inside. Twardock's made to go wide here, and Ida right now absolutely attacking. Brilliant racing between them as we ride on board, looking down over the front of the 44. Ida sees the doors wide open. He's not going to miss an opportunity here. Cast the car to the inside, but in the end has to mind his manners, of course. We do see a cocking of the wheel there, or what is a tripoding moment there, to use the proper term, so as not to be caught with English slang. And as they make their way in towards turn number 12, right now Leo Ida throwing everything back at Twardock, but Twardock holding on. And well, this battle for 6th place just as riveting as the battle for the lead. But further down the order, let's not forget we've got plenty more other drivers out there, including Philip Moroz in 14th place at the moment. That's exactly where he started today, and right now he's looking to try and make his way up the order versus Julian Rehrberger. And the German driver just in front, who's lost 2 places since the start. Not the happiest to start. So number 87 driver, but he's trying to make amends for it right now. As a bit further back, Arsene Foreman up the inside of Lenny Hansen, going very deep there at turn 14. Bit of an odd corner there, as we see a flash of the headlights from Lenny Hansen. He's not too happy about something that's happened between these two. Well, hold the phone on that, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got a new leader. We have a slowdown penalty through turns 1 and 2 for Kieran Sharp. He's just had to serve that for track limit. And Andrew Pike has now moved into lead, with Janos Wenzel squeezes well through as well. So now Kieran Sharp finds himself once again a bit on the back foot, but this is nothing like Snetterton when it all went to the barrier. Instead, now it's all about seeing if he can take those places back. This Rudskogen Multi-Centre Circuit, of course, does have a lot of runoff area, but it also has a lot of curbing, which you can theoretically cut, and it's the game of not cutting too much. Otherwise, the automated iRacing stewarding system will pick up your cut. It will match it against the previous rolling average 5 laps you've done, and if you've gained too much time versus that rolling average, as I understand it, well, then suddenly you'll be hit with what will be a slowdown penalty, and depending on where you cut the course and how much time you've gained, that penalty can be anywhere from half a second through to 3 to 4 seconds. Although here at Rudskogen, it will typically be about 1 to 2 seconds you'll have to burn as a slowdown penalty, and drivers will typically do it on a straight or into a braking zone. They'll lift and coast more so than they normally would into that braking zone, and that's why Kieran Sharp is staying on the lead group, albeit falling into the back of it. There's Thomas Hill right now, continues to push on, and in front of them, who is that they're catching up to, I hear you ask? Well, that is Harry Mason. Mason, of course, with the car that refused to go green, and, well, he pulls aside there in the Domino's machine. Unfortunately, it's not going to be delivered on time today, that Domino's car, but at the same time, it's good to see Mason out there giving it his all, and he makes me think back to my days, my early sim racing days, where I used to race in a Domino's livery, and it became a running trope on any broadcaster did, whereby if I won the race, the Domino's was delivered on time, and I'd be allowed to have a pizza delivered to my house from the people who were watching. Meanwhile, if I didn't win the race, well, I wasn't allowed to have Domino's pizza that evening. But still, I digress. We're here to talk about hot hatches, and as we do see, what here's Thomas Hill and Patrick Gallick together. Craig Twardock a little bit further behind. And right now, Gallic and Hill still working together, with Twardock now starting to break away from Einar, and he might just be feeling a little bit safer. Tom Davidson further back there. We haven't really seen Davidson get too far into this field. He has gradually been picking his way through, little by little. I think he's had to play a bit of a patience game here as they roll their way up through the slalom sequence, going from one of the lowest points of the circuit, turn number 2 into 3, to one of the highest there, as we see Harry Mason decide to pull to the grass, respecting the blue flags. Well done to him. But right now, Einar and Kula side by side here. Leo Einar having to defend as they come down towards the hairpin onto the brakes. They get ready to go, and as they do, well, right now the British driver here hold on, big lock up in front there for Craig Twardock, a bit of an unexpected one, but Einar meanwhile absolutely hold on. But now Davidson's all over the back of him, but Davidson looks to the outside. There's Kula back on the inside, and it's going to be a move here from the Polish driver as he goes in for Project 26. Does he get it done? Not quite, and now they'll be going too wide through the left, in towards the right. Davidson on that inside through turn 14. Surely this has got to be enough here for Davidson to finally take that place. He does, and immediately Conrad Kula backs off, and Kula, no stranger to front engine front wheel drive racing, a multi-time runner in what was the NXTCC, the Next Gen Touring Car Championship, and regularly a big fan of Clio Cup cars. And right now as they make their way up towards turn 1, brilliant battle in between them, as we do see Kula looking to that inside. And well, right now the number 3 driver, educated, and I do believe running under the tutelage, I think still, of none other than perhaps the most decorated hot hatch and TCR driver on iRacing, that being Wojciech Swierdowicz, at least on the European continent, the only driver in history on iRacing to hold the official title in Division 1 in both the TCR Open setup and Fixed Setup series simultaneously, if my memory serves me correctly. And indeed an incredible driver. Conrad Kula definitely has learned a lot from him in the past. But as they make their way through turns 2 and 3, well, right now Tom Davidson and Leo Einar together here, and well, all for the calls to try to get away from Ian Rankin, who'd like a role to play. But meanwhile, Einar still fighting, and there's Davidson now looking to hold on the inside through turn 7 into 8, and there's going to be Kula looking up the inside, and he's just waiting for an opportunity here. He constantly look at this and thinking to himself, right, when are they going to battle? As in the end, Einar goes very wide, rejoins in the midst of them, and well, that's a bit of an interesting rejoin there. Picks up a slowdown for it, and well, not blaming him to be fair. I think he was elbowed out a little bit wide there in that battle with Davidson and Kula, and well, he is going to gradually burn that slowdown penalty. But I get the feeling the stewards may take a look at that one after the race is done today. No live stewarding, we should remind you. This is all done post-round in terms of stewarding, and it's typically through reports from the drivers in the Hot Hatch Trophy Series. And right now, there's the expectation that drivers will talk to each other and try to be politically correct in talking to each other to discuss whether it actually does need to go to the stewards afterwards. Because, of course, a lot of incidents, as we like to say, about 75 to 80% of incidents can be resolved by a discussion between the drivers involved. It only needs to go to the stewards in the most severe case. But right now, speaking of this being severe, well, it's not over yet, as Einar right now, he's got his teeth in versus Kula. Kula wants this place off him, going to the outside. And 10 minutes to go in this race. Plenty of brilliant action so far. Plenty more to come. And Conrad Kula there tries to find his way through. But Leo Einar right now literally parking the car on the apexes here. And Kula can't find a way through. So Ian Rankin says, OK, now it's my turn to play. Or is it? As he makes his way onwards, we'll have to see what's going to happen here. The 248 driver heads down the hill. And as he does so, coming in towards what will be that right-hander of turns 2 and 3. You see Davidson's already checked out and got off the road there by the best part of what is 1 second of this group. And he runs very wide. And, well, Davidson there making a mistake. That's going to bring him right back into the charging trio. Meanwhile, further back, Julian Rehrberger and Philip Moroz now battling their way through turns 2 and 3. Moroz on the inside there of the missed Apex Motorsport number 87, but in the end runs a little bit wide off the corner, and Rehrberger's going to try and go round outside to inside here, but of course it will put him on the outside at the very end of the uphill slalom sequence. And well, decisive driver there for Philip Moroz to make sure he's got the inside line when it matters most, and that's going to bring Ben Brown right back into the mix now. Good to see the only racing driver getting onto the back of the group, and well, he'll want to try and pick up some more points before the race is done. But meanwhile, back to the front of the field, we haven't forgot we've got a leading trio together. They had 9 seconds clear now for the rest of the field, and something tells me the 3 TSRC drivers here will all be working together, and this is not because they're trying to game the system, but the full process is going to be here. If they work together for the opening 25 minutes of the race, they'll create a big enough gap so they can fight towards the end, or in this case, the opening 22 minutes, because Kieran Sharp says to Janos Wenzel, don't mind if I do, and Wenzel says to him, no, I do mind if you do, thank you very much, Kieran. And right now, Janos here going a bit defensive as he makes way out, and that's going to give Andrew Pike a 7/10 of a second gap. And at this point, for Andrew Pike, with his mum and dad, I do believe watching, and Roger and Angie right now be cheering him on, and hoping he can break away here to make it 2 wins in a row. But Wenzel versus Sharp, still too wide here as they come down the hill. Sharp all on the inside there, goes really in for this, and Janos Wenzel in the end doesn't fight it too hard. He goes for the switchback instead, but Sharp gets it stopped, and that goes to show you that Sharp has been looking after his tyres since the start of the race, and he's able to make some rather daring leaps and lunges, and Janos Wenzel tucks him behind. But of course, it'll be the mutual benefit they stop fighting each other, because otherwise Pike will disappear off up the road, and suddenly what's a battle for the win becomes a battle for second place. Meanwhile, Thomas Hill and Patrick Gallick still trying to work together, and Craig Twardock has said, well, I'm going to catch back up to you. And now Thomas Hill is thinking to himself, probably, okay, we're really stuck in a fight for 4th place. But making the way through, we do say hello there to Novice Racing, who's cheering on both Julian Rehrberger and also Patrick Gallick. And right now, the number 24 driver having himself a bit of a day here in amongst what is Thomas Hill and Craig Twardock. He's had plenty of fun fighting, has Gallick, but right now he needs to try and find a way to beat the man who's getting 3 places. And that is Thomas Hill, and Tom Davidson a bit further behind. We'll be watching on in the distance and seeing this is all going down, and we'll be thinking, can I get involved in that? Can I catch up to it before this race is over? I think you'd love to here. Davidson's come all the way back up to 7th place after a difficult start. It's going to be a bit of a tough drive for him. We're coming through the corner. We look back to Matt Cheverton. He's taken after James Stone Radford. Right now, the Dog Stride defending versus the Aztec Racing driver, and Cheverton making a lot of progress after starting for the very back of the field. But right now, he might be meeting his match. But meanwhile, we do come back to that fight for 4th place. There's battles everywhere we look. And as we see Thomas Hill here going defensive versus Gallick, there he goes around the outside as Patrick. Can't quite make that work. But Craig Twardock now looks for an opportunity instead. And as they power the way onwards, Twardock getting the better run off the corner, and the Welshman now looking to the inside. And I think at this point now, Thomas Hill's going to try and give the draft to Gallick, give a bit of an overspeed, but I think Twardock here is going to look at the inside. Not quite, in fact. I thought he was going to go for the free wide there. Not enough time in order to be able to go for it. He doesn't want to risk it just yet, but he will get ahead of Patrick Gallick and move out of another place. So he's now right on board with the Austrian driver, well, your number 24 driver here, just keeping it nice and clean. Very smooth lines, and that does help you in these Clio Cup cars in order to make sure you don't lose too much time basically in battling. And this really will be a race now. Who's got enough tyre life to really go all in right at the end? But phenomenal racing between the trio. We absolutely love to see it. I'm sure you guys and girls tuning in at home absolutely love to see it, regardless whether you're tuning in on your TV, your PC, or your tablet. And as they make the way through, well, big lock up there from Hill. That's not going to help in his endeavours, as now Patrick Gallick falls back a little bit. Well, I think this is going to be a bit of a misgear, and also big mistake there from Craig Twardock. Goes way too late in towards turn number 12, locks up the front right brake, and well, falls back down the order. So Twardock, after all that progress made, he now regresses as Tom Davidson is only 1.5 seconds off of the trio. So suddenly he wants to turn it into a quartet. Meanwhile, as we look back to the front of the field, it is your leading trio of Andrew Pike, Kieran Sharp and Janos Svensson. They go on to lap number 17. They've still got a few more laps to go in this one. By my mathematics, I suspect we are going to be looking at a grand total of 19 or 20 laps. And it will depend on how soon they do get to the finish line for what will be their final lap to start. But as Kieran Sharp right now gets close here to Andrew Pike, well, these two go back years in terms of sim racing careers. They've been great friends. And indeed, they were part of the team that formed the sim racing collective community, which of course this series the Hot Hats Trophy run as part of, and powering the 2026 Motorsport UK Esports Rookie Sportscar Cup, supported by Phil and Simagic. But right now, well, Kieran Sharp definitely tried to work some magic on the sim, and he's feeling an opportunity is coming after that slowdown penalty for earlier on. Make his way through left into right here. Well, Wenzel close, but I don't think this is going to quite work out just yet. Still trying to attack, still trying to poke, probe, do everything he can, but these drivers right now really giving it their all. As meanwhile, Thomas Hill 11 seconds off of your leaders, but he's got a bit of a gap to Gallick and Twardock, and at this point, can he hold on for a little bit longer? I can see a lot of Thomas Hill fans there in the Motorsport UK Esports YouTube chat, and to be fair, I love to see you all cheering this man on. And well, Earl Panagi does say, oh, Zipkart Young Gun completed the whole karting journey, and well, Thomas Hill absolutely flying right now, no doubt about it. And a number of these drivers as well will be real life racing drivers, probably at a club or a national level, and also potential karting drivers as well. As they make the way through, well, the 0 Point Racing driver right now 9. He's still got Gallick and Twardock for close company. 3 minutes left on their battle. Leaders have gone to lap 18. By my reckoning, I think we may squeeze in a 20th lap. It is going to be close. Meanwhile, further behind, we do see Aina, Kula and Rankin. They complete the top 10 together. Rankin, of course, there, now glued to the back of this. He wants a role to play here if he can. And James Stone Radford, you can see in the rear of the picture there, still bringing along with the journey, Matt Cheverton. And Cheverton glued to the back of Stone Radford, the Dogs driver. These two haven't really fought each other in recent history from what I can remember. But meanwhile, as they don't really fight at the moment, well, Kieran Sharp now starting to put that pressure on. And here we go. We look back for the rear of Andrew Pike for TSRC, holding off his teammate. But of course, they're not teammates for the purposes of this series, as they make their way through 7 into 8 here. And right now, Kieran Sharp, you can tell he's getting ready for a move, but when is he going to do it? That is the big question that we want an answer for. And right now, it does seem as though he's just enticing. He's dancing with this, as Pike having a bit more of a lock up there, and indeed feeling that pressure now as they make the way around. And, well, these brakes, of course, are very fine. There is a very fine line between not locking up and locking up in these cars. And, well, they're micro lockups at the end of the day. You'll notice they're not just going straight on. If they went fully on the brakes, you can see the car essentially just understeer straight on at the corner. But it's just where he's applying a little bit too much brake pressure, and it's just locking up that inside tyre brake line. But as they make the way around, well, these three right now. 1 minute 40 left on the clock. We go on to lap number 19. We will likely get 20 laps then. I don't see a white flag waving out my commentary booth window, so we are going to go another 2. So this is still a journey to be told. Thomas Hill, meanwhile, well, he makes his way then onto his penultimate lap and having to go defensive here versus Gallic and Twardock. And here they come in towards that braking zone. It's turn 1, and Gallic's going to look up the inside, or look around the outside to inside. Can he get this done under braking? The answer is no. It's such a difficult line to go through there. But the good news for our drivers, they're going to get plenty of practice at turn 1 at Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in a week's time, because the opening sequence of corners here, turns 1 and 2, is pretty much identical to the German circuit. Although I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. I'll have to look into that for you before round number 3. But indeed, that constant switch back and left into right as meanwhile Craig Twardock switches himself to the inside. And as he does so, well, the TSRC driver's not quite there, is he? He's going to have to really lean into the corner, but Gallic sees it coming. He just simply leaves the door even more wide open. And that one there just making sure that Twardock could not ride on his side panel. And if he did that, well, he definitely would have tried to go for the move there. He would have been a bit cheeky and just leant onto Gallic's car. But Patrick saw what was coming and intentionally let the car roll a bit deeper, and Twardock couldn't get the move done as a result. Smart driving there for Patrick Gallic. He's definitely played this game before. But meanwhile, we look back to Leo Einer, Ian Rankin, with Conrad Kula having been passed quite recently. And how exactly did we see Conrad Kula get passed? Well, here's a quick replay. So this was Id's turns 2 and 3, and it was Conrad Kula trying to attack Ida, and in the end went way too deep into the corner, and at that point, it was Rankin getting through. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come back to your live pictures, because 1 lap to go, and right now, Andrew Pike leads. He's only a lap away from making 2 wins in a row this season. Kieran Sharp is with him, Jan Spencer's with him, but these 3 now, well, if the gloves haven't come off yet, so they will come off on this lap, but who is going to have the last laugh in this one? 13 seconds behind. It's the battle for 4th. It's another trio. We see there Thomas Hill, Patrick Gallen, and Craig Twardock together in that order. Then Tom Davidson 2 seconds behind, and Leo Ida right now. He's trying to hold on for 8th place here versus Ian Rankin and also Conrad Kula. Rankin looking around the outside. Here goes Rankin then outside to inside. Can he get it done? Not quite. Has tucked back in. But as we look back up the order, of course we are staying as fixed as best we possibly can to these 3 battles. Unfortunately, we can't split the screen for you as much as we'd love to. And right now, Andrew Pike literally holding on here, having to drag the car through every corner, make sure that Kieran Sharp can't find a way in. Off camera as well, we have got Philip Morose under major pressure for 13th from Ben Brown. Julian Rehrberger's also there, and we'll have to wait and see what happens then. But we're staying with the leaders here now for the remainder of this race, and Andrew Pike here defending as much as he can. Kieran Sharp with him, and Jan Spencer, I think at this point, maybe deciding, wait and see if the top 2 take each other out. There's only a few quarters to go, however. He's definitely played a bit of a patience game here, but Pike looks set. 3 quarters to go. Makes his way through the left hand out of turn number 12. No mistakes now. All he's got to do is keep it on the black stuff for the final 2 corners. Through the left into the sweeping right hander at turn number 14. And for Andrew Pike right now, the checker flag awaits him on the exit this corner. But is he going to be a happy end to the race? I think it is, because at the end of the day, only one driver can win. And after winning at Stetson here today, Andrew Pike will make it back to back here in Norway. Head of Kieran Sharp and Jan Svenzel. It's a 1-2-3 for the TSRC drivers. And then who's going to come home in 4th place? It is going to be Thomas Hill by looks of things. Can he run it to the line? He's going to keep it tight to the inside here. Straight line to the end. Patrick Gallic over the back of him, but Hill will take 4th ahead of Gallic and Twardock. Tom Davidson takes 7th. And who will be in 8th place? And who will complete the top 10? Will Leo Ida there swerve into the pit wall? He's going to hold on to 8th place. Well done to the LAM driver ahead of Ian Rankin and Conrad Kula. In 11th place, when he found his way past James Stowe Radford, he will take 11th is Matt Cheverton. And then Philip Morose will hold on for 13th versus Ben Brown, with Artem Fomin on the final lap overtaking Julian Rehrberger and was able to move up into 15th. Then we will see 12 seconds behind. A bit of a frustrated day today for the wheelchair racing driver 69's Lenny Hansen, but he comes over in 17th place, still gets some points on the board. And then we've got Luke Jackson coming on through, and indeed he had plenty of battling earlier in the race, but unfortunately his race has got a bit backwards as he crawls towards the line. And I think right now 90's quite safe there, as he will take home 18th place, and Tony Presta will be your last lead lap finisher there in 19th, and the last finisher of this race. But a great race, no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen. Plenty of fighting for the outset. And well, as we do look to the scenic view, let's take a look at those race results, subject to any post-race inquiries. And as we can see, it was a fast, it was a furious, and it was a 30-minute race filled with close-knit racing action between our drivers. And well, it was Andrew Pike who took victory here for TSRC, ahead of his two teammates of Kieran Sharp and Janos Wenzel. But to be fair, whilst they worked together when they broke away at the start to create a gap, they weren't working together towards the end. And Andrew Pike made sure to manage his car enough, and Kieran Sharp, after that early slowdown penalty, just losing out when he definitely wanted to try and take that win back. Janos Wenzel, third there, the German driver, completed the podium, a maiden podium of the season for him. He'll be absolutely pleased as punch with that. Header Thomas Hill, who took fourth place there for 0 Point Racing. Header Patrick Gallick completed the top 5, and constantly pushing on the back of Thomas Hill after losing the place to him early on, but could not find a way back through. But he did a brilliant job to hold off Craig Twardock, who took 6th place ahead of Tom Davidson. And then we did see Leo Einer in 8th place there for LAM, or Leo Einer Motorsport, who held off Ian Rankin and Conrad Kula to the finish line, and it was Kula who completed your top 10. Matt Sheraton was best rest of the length, coming all the way through from 21st to 11th place. Well done to him on that drive for the ATR team. It was James Stone Radford of the Dogs who was passed right at the end. Head of Philip Moroz, Ben Brown and Artin Fomin who completed your top 15. Julian Rehrberger took 16th place ahead of Lenny Hansen. And then we did see Michael Luke Jackson in 18th there ahead of Tony Preston, your last lead lap finisher. We sadly did lose a couple of drives along the way, including it was Harry Mason who had that stalled start with an issue with the engine. He did get back out there, but they decided to bring the car back in due to an ongoing problem with the car. And well, ladies and gentlemen, we also did lose quite early on the race, none other than Adrian Borowski, with a technical issue in the opening laps that sent him wide at turns 2 and 3, and we lost him from that point onwards. But what a race. And the great news is we're definitely going to be sticking around with our hot hatches just for a little bit longer, because we'll be back very shortly for a post-round interview of our race winner, hopefully with Andrew Pike. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure now to bring us back, and as we do, we're going to be catching up with our race winner from race number 1 a day on our schedule. That is, of course, the only TSRC Hot Hatch race today, and that is going to be none other than what will be Andrew Pike, who now joins me in the interview room. Bear with us, as I think we're just going to get the patch through feed, and here we go, as Andrew Pike now joins me. Andrew, good evening to you. What a race from yourself. I mean, it wasn't easy, but you've made it 2 out of 2 this season.
Yes, thank you, mate. It wasn't easy at all, but at the same time, it kind of was, because Sharpie got a slowdown through T1, which arguably handed me a win that I don't think I'd have been able to get. You probably saw there on the broadcast. It's incredibly hard to overtake. As I say, I'm not sure I'd have been able to get him. His pace was that little bit better. But we were also both looking at our mirrors pretty heavily at Wenzel as well. We drove a really good race, which made it entertaining for us, but would have been good to see a few more moves, I think.
Well, definitely one, as like you say, so difficult to overtake here at Rudskogen. But in terms of your qualifying time, second in the starting order, were you happy with your lap?
Yeah, given that I'd done a handful of laps earlier due to the surgery I've had on my hand and restricting me how much I can drive, to put it anywhere near the front row was a surprise, to be honest. I didn't think I'd get into the 33s. From there, I just hoped to beat Sharpie off the line, which I didn't do, and then I'd kind of resigned myself to, unless he makes a mistake, I'm going to be second or third here. So yeah, it was a surprise to be where I was, and even more of a surprise to pick up a win.
Well, like you said, a bit of a surprise there, and well, glad to hear that things are moving forward with regards to the surgery on your hand. But in terms of driving around here, we did see quite a few times, a few lockups from yourself. The pressure was building towards the end of the race.
Yes, I mean, it's a bit of a tyre saving game in these because it's a half-hour race. So once we got to the midpoint and I managed to get the lead, I looked at it and thought, well, I'm going to have to use some tyre up here and push on to stand a chance of holding this, because I knew Sharpie was going to be quicker than me. So picking up the inside, it probably looks a bit more dramatic than it is, but cocking the inside rear wheel and locking that brake is quite common, whereas full-on lock-ups will cost you big time. I managed to not make any mistakes in that regard, but I was definitely pushing by the end. I haven't sweat that much for a while, that's for certain.
Well, you're definitely sweating over the course of distance, and of course, we've got plenty more racing to come. Next up, Motorsport Arena Oschersleben next Monday. How are you feeling for it?
Yeah, I love that. Great little track, and slower sort of mechanical grip-based cars like these. That should be great fun. Hopefully we can battle a little bit harder and give you a bit more to watch and enjoy there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, Andrew, we'll leave it there. Congratulations on making it back-to-back wins this season. And, well, we look forward to seeing you take on the field, see if you can make it a turkey at what will be Oschersleben in a week's time.
I'll do my best, mate. Thank you very much.
So hearing there, ladies and gentlemen, from Andrew Pyatt, very happy with his performance, no doubt about it. And well, it's great that we've got a little bit of time to bring you these post-round interviews. And talking about there the fact that in the end, the difficulty of overtaking, he was pleasantly surprised by Kieran Sharp making that error, that slowdown that enabled him to have a doorway to go on the attack. But speaking of drivers who dug in deep today, we have got just that little bit more time before we get ready for our Rookie Sportscar Cup. So how about this? Let's bring you another interview. And we're going to now come to what will be none other than Thomas Hill, who gets ready to join me, ladies and gentlemen. And well, in fact, I think we are now going to be coming to Thomas Hill as we do speak to the man who took fourth today, and into the interview room he comes. And as he does join me now, Thomas, good evening to you. What a race yourself. 7th to 4th, had to dig in deep every step of the way. You must be exhausted.
Yeah, very hard race coming into this round in P2 in the championship. Knew it was going to be quite hard. I'm not a big fan of this track. But to come away with P4 and keep that gap a little bit closer than anticipated is very good.
Now, I have to ask, qualifying, were you happy with that lap? Because given Snetterton, something tells me you wanted to be on the front row.
Yeah, I mean, the aim was to be on the front row, but the quality lap was a little bit off. I made a couple of mistakes. I haven't done much practice. So, you know, we learn and we move on to the next one.
Well, definitely one to learn from. But in the race, I mean, just quickly, I know it's pretty hard. You could write a whole story out of this, having to hold on for 4th place versus Patrick Gallick versus Craig Tardock, and also try to chase down the top 3. I mean, you had to do everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very good race. Well done to them. Close racing as always. And, you know, to keep that P4 throughout the race and keep my head calm was the main aim, to just keep composure and keep it smooth.
Well, you're absolutely smooth out there. And in terms of what lies next, of course, next up we've got Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. What can we expect from you there?
Hoping a lot better. Hoping to be on that front row and hopefully get a win to close that championship gap.
Well, we wish you all the best for your preparations for round number 3. But until then, Thomas, congratulations on a brilliantly earned 4th place. We'll see you at Oschersleben.
Thank you very much. See you there.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for our second and final interview for our Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy in round number 2. That was Thomas Hill for 0 Point Racing, talking out there. Degree of frustration with regards to the qualifying lap he put together, but the flip side of the coin also ringing true. Very happy with his performance in the race and defending hard versus Gallic and Twardock. But he wants to be on that front row, and we can expect him to put all his effort in to be back on the front row in a week's time. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings our interviews to a close. And the good news is, well, it's not over yet in terms of our broadcast, because we've got plenty more racing to come. And in terms of what happens now, of course, well, let's show you that broadcast schedule as we do leave our hot hatches there. And as our schedule does update itself, well, as we can see, next up, we've got our break. It's going to be a little bit shorter than 10 minutes in terms of how much break we do get. We want to bring those interviews, and we'll definitely get you some more of those at Oschersleben. I suspect you guys and girls have enjoyed hearing from some of our drivers. But we will be back at 8 o'clock, and we'll be lining up our main event. It'll be time for round number 2 of the Motorsport UK Esports 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup, powered by the Sim Racing Collective, and of course supported by our official prize partners of Film and Simagic. And we'll be back here at the Motorsport Arena, the Rudskogen Motor Centre in Rakestad of Norway, to continue the story of our MX5 rookie season. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back very soon for the Rookie Sportscar Cup. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for our main event here from the Rakestad circuit known as Rudskogen Motor Centre. Indeed, we are back then for our 2 races in round number 2 of the 2026 Motorsport UK Esports Rookie Sportscar Cup, powered by the Sim Racing Collective and, of course, supported by Phil and Simagic, our official prize partners. 2 races on our schedule, of course, and you can see our format there on screen. We're currently about to make our way into our qualifying, and we're all the best part there of what will be 10 minutes available to our drivers, and they'll have 3 laps available to try and go for pole position at this tricky circuit in their Mazda MX-5 Cup cars. After which, the first race will await them. That'll be 20 minutes in duration, and then we take a brief breather before we're doing it again. But of course, we will be seeing a top 8 inversion of that grid. But what a race we've seen. The rubber's been laid down by our hot hatches in the support series, so therefore this is going to be a grippy circuit. At least we have to expect that, and all our drivers will be absolutely ready to tackle the circuit. But just before we do go into that qualifying session and tell you a little bit about how our drivers are getting on, they're just about to start their laps, we would like to give you a bit of an update with regards to the prizes for this season. Because, of course, we show them on screen. Last time out in the broadcast in round number 1, we knew what the winner's prize was. And as we can see it on screen there, a Simagic Zeus Sport wheel, including the mag dash, plus a pair of field gloves. And well, those field gloves, of course, very well-tailored gloves, no doubt about it, from the company established by the world-famous team Redline and former head of studio at Studio 397, Dom Duhan. And well, the gloves are built by drivers, and well, indeed from drivers, we should say, who've got plenty of experience competing at the top level. And if you want to be in your A game, you definitely want to have the smooth and silky gloves that actually stitch to perfection. But we do have the wonderful Simagic wheel as well there, and well, the first prize on the table, let's talk a little bit more about it, that Zeus Sport rim prize. Simagic have just added the Zeus lineup to their website, and well, the Sport is a perfect choice for road racing or rally, offering a dual suede and stitched leather design. First place will take home the steering wheel, plus also Simagic's new Magic Dash, or the Mag Dash is 9 in short, a touchscreen that mounts to the wheel or wheelbase, and with full support for SimHub, it gives drivers key data whilst they race at a glance, like lap deltas, fuel, all without taking their eyes far from the road. But of course, for second place, we now have confirmation that Simagic will be providing a GT Neo wheel, plus Phil's none other than pair of gloves. And well, that GT Neo wheel, it's a very popular wheel for a reason. It's Simagic's most popular wheel because it delivers that pro-level feel racers want. 4 RGB lighting, thumb encoders, and silent shifters were double clutch included as standard, all at a price that punches well above its weight, although our drivers will be looking to punch well above their weight if they want to bring home that prize. And as for the third place prize, we now do have confirmation that it will be a set of Simagic P700 pedals plus a pair of field gloves. And well, don't overlook the pedals, we should point out, because they give our drivers plenty of pro-level adjustability, where 150 kilogram load cell brake included as standard, which is well beyond many standard offerings, I can tell you that. And with easy expandability via Simagic's best-selling haptic reactors, a great feeling ABS or traction control, the P700 pedals offer fine-tuning you'd expect from Reese, costing far more. And indeed, I can tell you one thing, if our drivers push hard enough, they're going to be receiving prizes that will enable them to push even further in their sim racing careers. And also a reminder that one driver selected at random was competed in all of the 5 rounds. It will be a raffle draw between all drivers that completed in all 5 rounds. We'll see them pick up a pair of field gloves. So that way, they're encouraged to be on the grid all the way to the end of the season, even if they're not on course to take home the championship crown. Now, quick overview of the rules, because we told you about the prizes, and a reminder of the rules for the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup, powered by Sim Racing Collective, brought to you by Motorsport UK Esports. We can see 3 laps available in qualifying, 10 minutes in duration of the session, 20-minute races, both of them, but race number 2 will have the reverse top 8 grid. What that means in layman's terms is we take the results from race number 1 and we invert the top 8 finishers. So the winner of race number 1, they will start in 8th place for race number 2, and we can see that inversion until we get to your 8th place position from race number 1, and they will start on pole for the purposes of race number 2. And those who finish 9th and downwards, you guessed it, absolutely right, that's exactly who will be starting for race number 2. The setup is fixed once again, so our drivers don't have to worry about setting up the car to perfection. All they've got to do is get in the car, make sure they've learned how it's going to feel around the Rudskogen circuit, and then go all in for that victory. There's one fast spare available should they end up in any bumps or crunches, and we will see a standing start, and the instant count will be 15 instant points for drive-through, and then at every 10 they'll pick up a subsequent drive-through penalty. So that's a quick recap of the rules, but let's make our way back to circuit side, and as we do, let's bring up speed with the championship standings then, as we come into round number 2. And leading the way back here today and looking to try and set the pace once more, it's EFR with Rotor Racing's Harry Fletcher, who of course took the perfect score from what was our opening round with the back-to-back victories, albeit to be fair, he was kept incredibly honest in the second race of the day by none other than Finley Secker, who pushed him every step of the way, and it was literally tenths at the line. Ben Sieber, meanwhile, sits in second place, and well, a third and an upgraded what was third for second place in the end in the second race of the day, due to an incident between Secker and another driver, which has seen him demoted from his podium finish in what was race number 2. Well, Ben Sieber right now the leading challenger there on 73 points for DCW Racing, and he enjoyed himself, and he'll be hoping to be more than Mr. Third Place today. Gabriel Dutra, we know we've got a few fans for the Brazilian driver out there in the YouTube chat, and well, Gabriel looking quite quick out there as well, but he definitely denotes what is a bit of a gap between the top two and the rest of the field, and right now only 5 points behind him is Finley Secker for Drive Lounge Racing, and then we do have James Rogers completing that top 5. Connor Spruce sits in 6th, just ahead of Max Moron, and the Sim It Esports Racing Team driver definitely had a lot of pace, but wasn't able to deliver it last time out due to a few bumps and scrapes, with Jaden Innes, the Canadian, ahead of Mark Martin. And then we do have Anton Gabrowski completing that top 10, and keep your eyes out for number 7 driver. He definitely was a bit of a dark horse at Snetterton, and we didn't get to truly see his pace unleashed onto the grid. Kurt Fawcett, he was definitely full of fighting for Altitude 3M Esports. He sits in 11th place there, and Richard Revins, Thomas Stephen, Craig McCracken, and Kiera Boylan complete the top 15, and another driver as well. Watch out for Craig McCracken, because we saw at Snetterton, if it were not for the instance, he had pace to be on the podium. Unfortunately for Craig, things didn't quite work out, and that's why he's only on 11 points. Kelvin Woodhead sits in 16th place, just behind Kira Boylan, who of course had that incredible 4 wide going into Bomb Hole at Snetterton, picking up 3 places for the price of 1 quarter. And then we do have Bevis Lau, the last of those with points to their name. We do have 3 new names to the grid today, albeit one of whom had already signed up. We didn't get to see them on the grid for what was race number 1, or round number 1 I should say. And well, we also do have some drivers who've yet to get points. Harry North, Lee Rootley, and also Matthew Shade there completed the top 20. And outside that top 20 there, we do also have Richie Holder ahead of Lee Robinson, Dave Young, and John Shorter. But ladies and gentlemen, we're into qualifying, and therefore let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the background here as we are heading into the closing throes of this qualifying session. The clouds are definitely out here at Rudskogen, but no sign of rain on the cars from what I can tell in the forecast. We're not expecting any rain this season. We're trying to keep the conditions as simple as possible for our drivers, but right now Harry Fletcher definitely proved to be the quickest out there in this qualifying session, and looking absolutely rapid. But as we do see a few more of you joining in the YouTube chat, and some of you cheering on this man, Connor Spruce, including at Vinty D there saying, come on Connor. We also do say hello there to Rodrigo Dutra Uchoa, who is cheering on none other than Gabriel Dutra. And well, we also do say hello to Sky Mayonnaise, who says, let's go, and indeed excited for this. And I do know a few of you have been waiting eagerly for the rookies, and here they are. And just a reminder, in terms of the definition of a rookie, these drivers, all of them competing with an iRacing road rating. Of iRacing does have separate ratings for different disciplines, but a road sports car rating of 1,850 or lower. They cannot have passed 1,850 in their iRacing career. So some drivers here, they may be experts of other disciplines. For example, they could be in theory an expert of rallycross. However, they have not become an expert in what is road racing, and therefore it does mean that's what I consider rookies out there. So you're going to see drivers who definitely make some mistakes out there, but they're full of enthusiasm, and that's the most important thing. And this man who parks up here, having gone 3rd place, Thomas Stevens, one to watch out for, because many of you may remember, of course, he was due to start in the front row alongside Harry Fletcher, and in the end he had a technical issue which meant he couldn't even start the race in race number 1, and he had to start from the back of the field in race number 2. It definitely wasn't a happy day in the office for him, but he did put on a good show to try and fight his way through in race number 2. But Finley Secker on his final qualifying lap at the moment, he's going to be one of the very last drivers to get a lap together. Keep in mind, of course, all these drivers right now in a lone qualifying session, so that means they all go to an isolated instance of the circuit. They cannot see their rivals, and they have 10 minutes or 3 laps, whichever expires first, to get their lap together for pole position. As Matthew Shade comes to the line, as he does so here, well, how big of a shadow is he going to cast on the grid? The answer is he will move into 17th place, just ahead of Richie Holder there, and well, it's a good lap from him, to be fair. Kelvin Woodhead parked up, does not improve. Kurt Fawcett, meanwhile, for Altitude 3M Esports, the highly decorated esports team, one of the biggest professional teams in the world, well, right now, definitely one of their rookie stars, and makes his way onwards here. And can he go a bit higher than where he is at the moment, which is no lap set? And the answer is going to be for Fawcett, as he crosses the time line. He does go up to 13th place there. Good lap from the British driver, and he'll be pleased with that. But I do believe that's all of the bad laps now set by drivers, ladies and gentlemen. And as everyone calls them down, we do see Jaden Innes parked up in the pit lane. when he makes his way to his stationary halt and when he gets out the cars. We look to the scenic view for about a minute, and well, we do have Harry Fletcher then, who takes pole position, back-to-back pole positions, but this time not quite by the absolutely staggering margin we saw at Snetterton of 1.3 seconds, this time just shy of a second. But remember, qualifying is just one part of the story, and look who is on that front row with Fletcher. Craig McCracken. I said only moments ago, watch out for him. We believe if he has a good qualifying session and he's able to get a good start to the race, he could really prove to be a forward in anybody's side for the win, if not at least that podium. Thomas Stephen as well, starting third there. Only a grand total of 6 thousandths off of the front row. That's incredibly tight. And then we do see Finley Secker there in fourth place. And well, we expect Secker to be right back up there. The number 6 driver absolutely galvanised. But as we do see Ben Seaver there at 5th, well, he'll be happy with that. And there's plenty of time to go. We do say hello to Joey Drink there, who's cheering on Harry Fletcher as well. We've definitely got a few Harry Fletcher fans out there. And indeed, whoever you're cheering on, ladies and gentlemen, good to see you tuning in. And do feel free to say hi. Don't be shy. Let us know how you're doing today. And I do apologise here if I do mumble over my words a little bit. It is a little bit hot in the content. If we have got a fan on, albeit still, we are breaking a bit of a sweat in here. But without further ado, I can only imagine how much our drivers are going to be sweating, because it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to make our way to the grid for the first of our 2 races. It's now time for the race 1 of round number 2 of the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup, brought to you here from Rudskogen. And as they make the way all onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for the first of their 2 races in round number 2 of the championship. It's Harry Fletcher who takes pole position, making it back-to-back pole positions for EFR with Rotor Racing. He'll be joined on the front row by Craig McCracken, the privateer who takes his best qualifying points season so far. Then we do have Thomas Stephen, 3rd placer, not able to match his 2nd place from Snetterton, but comes very close to it. And Finley Secker starts in 4th place for Drive Lounge Racing. Ben Seaver and Jaden Ince of DCW Racing and the privateer outfit line up together on row 3 ahead of Connor Spruce and Gabriel Dutra. Then we do see on row number 5, it'll be Lee Robertson and James Rogers. And I'll tell you one thing, Lee Robertson was absolutely excited to go racing today. And well, he's starting on that 5th row. He'll be happy with that. Row number 6 is going to be Mark Martin and John Shorter completing the starting order. John joining the grid and signing up after round number 1. Good to see him joining there, and good to see a number of drivers getting on the grid. Absolutely excited by the prospect of round number 1's broadcast from what I hear. Then we see starting 13th, it's Kurt Fawcett ahead of Richard Revens. And then it'll be Anton Grabowski ahead of Kira Boylan on row number 8, with row 9 being Max Moron and Matthew Shade. And completing your top 20 in all of the drivers who will be competing today, as I understand it, it'll be Richie Holder and Kelvin Woodhead. And that's how they'll all begin the day. And well, a big shot there for Max Moron, starting in 17th place of Sim IT Esports Racing. Not where you wait to start, but ladies and gentlemen, the grid is almost set, and now we are just waiting for the lights. And well, it's fire lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for the 1A race today. And goodness me, what a launch there from Matthew Shade. Something tells me he's jumped the start to do that. But to be fair, I won't call any more on that until we have it confirmed. But Matthew Shade has leapt into lead already. I think he's gone way too soon. So as the rest of the field comes on through, well, Matthew Shade there, he was in and gone. Meanwhile, Fletcher does break away with Craig McCracken there. And right as they come on through the corners, well, we can see all the drivers safe up through the open few bends. A couple of 2 wides as they make their way onwards. And well, we do see John Shorter there as one drive very wide. Coming back onto the road, not quite sure who that was, but as they all power the way onwards. But right now, time will tell us very soon, as Mark Martin falling back down, 3 wide there in the mid-pack as they all come down the hill. Matthew Shade had a bit of a moment, and I wonder, well, there's Shade parts up, so Shade's giving all the places back there, and I think he's recognised he's jumped the starts, therefore he wants to give the places back. Sadly for him, he will get a black flag from iRacing, regardless of his gentlemanly demeanour, and well, the problem is now, he will essentially have a black flag that says he has to come into the pit lane and serve what will be a stop-and-hold penalty. So, Matthew Shade, I think, has towed to the pits, in fact, realising that his race may be done for, although it's a bit unfortunate. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Shade. Not 100% certain on that at the moment. In fact, I think he is still going now from what we hear. But meanwhile, Kurt Fawcett finds himself in the thick of the fighting as they make the way through the hairpin. We lose Fawcett, and he rematerialises right in front there, Mark Martin. I don't think Mark had anything to do there. As they make their way onwards, he had to literally just keep his head down and carry on. But Max Moron now looking to go side by side with Richard Revens, as I think we've got a bit of difficulty for the DCW racing machine of Ben Seaber. You can see Reach. Oh, goodness me! And well, that was a shock to the system. Car coming across the road literally at the last moment. Who on earth was that? Not quite sure. And I think that might have been Mark Martin there, who came across what was at the very last moment. Well, I think that caught a many a driver surprise. It caught me by surprise, I can tell you that. But after what has been a bit of a crazy start to the race, well, Harry Fletcher leads the way ahead of Craig McCracken and Finley Secker. There's never a dull moment here in the Rookie Sportscar Cup, I can tell you that. And then we've got a 3-second gap to Jaden Innes in 4th place ahead of Connor Spruce, and it'll be Gabriel Ducha in 6th place with a 1.5-second gap to James Rogers. And with John Shorter battling with Lee Robinson here, and right now Shorter absolutely attacking. Driver running a bit wide there. That is going to be a rejoin being made. I believe that's by Anton Gabrowski. A bit too much enthusiasm at turn number 2, but 10 out of 10 for trying, as we like to say. And right now John Shorter's going up the inside here of James Rogers. This is going to be a move. And he's going to get that done quite quickly. Look at Ben Sieber, meanwhile, past the season amongst them all. And I don't think Lee Robinson and James Rogers knew the DCW Racing car was coming. Sieber is looking quick here right now, and I think he's trying to make amends for that mistake earlier on. Was it a mistake? We're not quite sure. But Lee Robinson side by side here with James Rogers, 2-1 they come through. And as they do, coming through the corner, rear of the car, let's go. And unfortunately, Robinson, it goes round. He tries to get it out the way. And in the end, everyone takes evasive action. But unfortunately, a bit of a touch there. And well, the bonnet pops up in quite comedic timing, you could say. But for Lee Robinson, he'll try and get that car rolling now, but definitely holds his brakes and waits for the field to go, and Lee there trying to do everything he can. But as they make the way on through, well, definitely a bit of a tricky one there, as we do say hello to Matthew Shade in the YouTube chat, and no worries at all, Matthew, saying there about what had happened at the start race. We all make those mistakes, to be fair, but that's why you're here as part of the Rookie Sports Car Cup, and nobody should judge you for it, because a rookie can always make a mistake as much as an esports professional can, indeed. I'll tell you one thing, those mistakes, those really obvious ones, esports professionals make them more commonly than you would think. And we'll see you back on the grid for race number 2. Look forward to seeing you carve your way through the field. But as all the drivers carry on, well, it's definitely been for Ben Sieber a race that's been of what is 2 parts so far. It started off well, and it's dropped back down the order, and now he's attacking John Shorter and try and make his way on through. That's not going to work out too easily, as we do have what is a meatball flag for Kurt Fawcett's car, and he's had to tow to the pit lane. We'll get a bit of an update on what happened to him in due course. Now, in terms of the new drivers here today, well, we do have, of course, John Shorter, new to grid, signed up after round number 1. Also, we do have Harry North, who is joining the grid, and well, very much looking forward to see Harry out there, I can tell you that. Although I don't think he's here today, and nor do we have Dave Young here today, unfortunately, the South African driver. We'll hopefully see him in what will be a week's time in round number 3. We're looking back to Kira Boylan, still attacking Richard Revens here for 11th place. And Kira right now, for Motorsport Woman, definitely had a very exciting day at Snetterton, showing that sometimes you just need to be smart to make moves happen. And right now, trying to be a little bit agile there, but finds that she's going to have some company on the inside. And well, you can't see that company from this camera angle, but that is going to be the car of Max Moran, trying to go around the outside and down towards the hairpin. Onto the brakes they both go. As they do, Boylan goes in a little bit late on the brakes, and in the end, Moran looks to switch it back to the inside. He's going to try it. Is it going to work out? The answer is no. Boylan going very defensive here, but to be fair, she demonstrated that, of course, at Snetterton and doing it again today. And well, Kira Boylan, absolutely brilliant. Meanwhile, that's Richard Revens going on the round, and that's unfortunate for the Latvian driver. The Rev Racing driver gets it turned around and does so just in time there. Oh, that might have been a little bit of what we call netcode contact there, which is essentially whereby the simulator simulates the two cars being in 2 different positions than what they are on our screen. So that might have been a bit of a ghost contact there between the 2 cars, but that's a technical item, and well, the drivers do have to live with that. Sometimes happens on any simulator, to be fair, even here on iRacing. But as they go on to what is another lap, well, still more fighting to come, and well, we've seen plenty further down the order. Let's come back up to the front. And what we can see is Harry Fletcher is now starting to open up a bit of a gap to Craig McCracken, who's got the number 1 on the side of the car. That's the sign of where he wants to finish today, albeit right now he's in the 2nd place spot. We're finished Seka close for company. Seka looking one way then the other, and coming up towards the end of the slalom. This is the sequence of corners that will definitely test our driver's abilities to balance the throttle on these front engine rear-wheel drive Mazdas. The best part of 181 brake horsepower from that 4-cylinder 2-litre Sky Active G engine. And right now as they head down the hill in towards that braking zone, well, Seka looking up the inside into the hairpin. Does he go for it? No, decides not. Instead goes the outside instead. So thinks about crafting a bit of a different move. A bit cheeky there is Finley, but to be fair, being a bit inventive and really trying to line this move up. But of course, the more these 2 fight, the more that Fletcher is allowed to get away. Now, it might be a bit of a question, how exactly is Fletcher managing this race? Is he going all in into breakaway, or is he managing the pace here and taking it nice and easy? We'll have to wait and see what his lap times will be. But we're seeing 35s from the rest of the field, as we're seeing 34s from Fletcher at the moment. As meanwhile, I think we've had a very similar incident to Revens for John Shorter coming out to turn number 12. He's gone for a spin, and sadly, that's not going to help out. It's going to send him a long way back down the field to 13th place. As more fighting going on and coming up behind him, that is Mark Martin, I should say, making his way around the outside of Thomas Stephen in towards turn 13. And Stephen right now, where it's been 2 frustrating race 1s, albeit this one, at least Stephen is still going compared to Snetterton. That's a good sign. And right now, we're definitely trying to make amends. Meanwhile, we've got a slowdown penalty for Finley Secker for track limit. I believe that's happened at turns 1 and 2 at the start of this lap, so he's having to give up time versus Craig McCracken. And we're on your screen right now, Mark Martin having to go as defensive as possible versus Thomas Stephen. And Stephen right now, I think, wants this place back as quickly as he possibly can. As they come through turn number 2, down the hill they get ready to go. And right now, Richie Holder there, very, very eager to break away. And Thomas Stephen may help him with that for a brief moment here as he's going to look up the inside in towards turn number 2. And well, that's going to be a move made just like that. That was absolutely buttery smooth there, albeit that's going to be Mark Martin looking back out the inside. So for Thomas Stephen, it was a perfect move, but he left the door wide open. And Mark Martin said, "Don't mind if I do, Thomas." And in the end, well, Martin's going to lose out through the slalom sequence as Richard Revins now closes up behind. As they make the way through, we have lost a driver from this race, Matthew Shade, of course, in the pit lane due to what happened at the start. He'll be back in at race number 1, but otherwise we do have 19 runners out there, 2 a lap down at the moment of Lee Robinson and Kurt Fawcett. Both the cars that have been prepared. But as Richard Revins holds onto the back of Mark Martin, let's wait and see when he can potentially find a move. What a dramatic start it has been, no doubt about it. And well, ladies and gentlemen, as we look back up to Craig McCracken, as Harry Fletcher goes through the bottom of your screen here. He's a bit camera shy today as Harry Fletcher. Oh, that's just how quickly he's trying to run away from his rivals. But right now, McCracken going defensive versus second. I think we're going to hold the phone on getting some replays because we're going to see this battle play out. And that's going to be looked from one side to the other from Finley Secker. And, well, right now, Secker can definitely make the moves, but where's he going to get the move done? That's the question. Makes his way along then, coming down towards turn number 2. As he does so, looking towards the inside here. What's it going to be? And the answer is going to be on to the brakes, all in, and, well, goes all in the anchors. Will we see Craig McCracken now try to switch it back by the time they get through turn number 4? The answer is no. So Finley Secker finally gets that move done, and he might now be able to break away unless he makes a mistake. Smart move there. Craig McCracken didn't defend it too hard, but I think his thought process was that the number 6 driver may have just overcooked the braking zone a bit, but not to be. But for McCracken, even if he just finishes on the podium in this race, I think he'll be a very happy man at that, given he was definitely pushing for the podium at Snetterton, but it was a long way away. But as the drives carry on, well, we do see a few more of you there in the YouTube chat, including none other than Jakob in the TSRC chat, plus also Rich down to 0, and we'll both be there cheering on none other than John Shorter, and we're both talking about what's happened to John. But as everyone continues to push on at the moment, and indeed so many John Shorter fans out there, well, John's still going, I can promise you that. There he is, albeit he's running 13th at the moment with no real dance partner to play with. He's got a bit of a gap to Thomas Stephen, behind him 3.5 seconds, but he's also 4.5 seconds off Kelvin Woodhead, and we'll need to try and close back up. There's Kira Boylan just ahead of Woodhead at the moment, with Max Moron also there, but as we do have a little bit of a lull in the racing action, so all our drivers right now get themselves settled into a tough race here at the Rakestad circuit. Well, let's bring you up to speed with some of the big moments in the race. We go back in time. And of course, this was the race start, and there you can see Matthew Shade jump in the start, and good on him for what he's done here. Now, some of you might be saying, is he being dangerous the way he's done this? No, in fact, that's what you should do. If you jump start a race that early, go. Do not stop, because if you stop, you essentially jump start, you're already going to get a penalty. And on top of that as well, if you then suddenly stop in amongst the field and the field gets going, they've got to deal with a car that is not what is in control at that point. So the driver essentially is not stopped, they're not going at full speed. Instead, what they're doing is just simply moving all about. But they would have all seen that car coming in their wind mirrors, and well, that's what happened at the start there for Matthew Shade. So did well there not to panic and just simply get on with the race start, and then everyone else started afterwards, and well, everyone would have seen in their mirrors that. Of course, it's always difficult with a jump start, but indeed did the right thing. But Thomas Stephen having a bit of a difficult start as well, falling all the way down the order, and well, slippery slope for him. Can we get the on board with Thomas Stephen there as he went racing? So this was the on board from Thomas Stephen, and let's listen in. And in the end, I think, as he went, so got a decent launch there. And in fact, it was. Harry Fletcher had a bit of a slower start compared to those around him. So Stephen looked to the inside, and as he did so here, well, on a very tight line. I think this is going to be at the root cause of where things do go a bit wrong for Stephen, as he then made his way out the corner. And as he did so, well, ooh, goodness me, and it went very sideways there. Had to collect the car together, and that we didn't quite see. And, well, he managed to thread the needle in amongst all the space. So Stephen definitely pulling it back together, and, well, he made his way onwards. Well, the whole field then just went around the outside. But that was been an exciting moment there for Thomas Stephen, not the way he wanted it to go. Meanwhile, we also did have this for Kurt Fawcett on the opening lap. And this was the F33L Esports driver, I think, disappearing for a brief moment and then coming back into our picture very shortly. And there he was. We lost him again, and unfortunately Kira Boyne at that point had no time to react there to the F33L Esports car. That definitely was a bit of a sudden shock appearance there. That's not what you want to see, but still forced it, then picking up the damage and having to come into the pit lane. We did have a bit of difficulty for Mark Martin on the open lap, as he made his way through turn number, I want to say 12, and in the end, well, a bit of a netcode connectivity or discontinuity, and that did send him on around. But as he got himself turned back around, Thomas Stephen then had a lap 2 not to remember. This was as he was trying to recover his way back through the field after that sideways moment on lap number 1. And well, the privateer here made his way through turns 3 and 4, and the rear of the car completely letting go there. Just no weight on the rear of the car and too much momentum into the corner, and that's always going to send a front engine rear-wheel drive car around. Lee Robinson as well had a bit of difficulty. Lee was at the time attacking Ben Sieber, who was trying to recover his way up through the field after a bit of a theatrical lap 1. And here side by side, and in the end just a small potential tap there. It may have been actually the elevation change in the road that sent it round. And in the end, we're trying to get the car out the way, and well, being clipped a little bit. Well, thankfully, was able to avoid adding any more into the instant, and I did well there to be a bit patient. But we did have that happen for him, and we did have this for Richard Revins a lap late on lap number 3, and the Rev Racing driver made his way through turn number 12, and the corner catching out too much apex curb, a lot of momentum into that left-hander, and the rear just said no. And sadly for John Shorter, it was a similar situation as he came through, slightly different camera angle, took all the apex curb in the world, and it completely looped on in there just like that. But those are some of the big moments from the start of the race, ladies and gentlemen, and we make our way back to your live racing. And as we do, well, we do seem to have a bit of a glitch there, albeit we've now finally get ourselves back onto the screen. Apologies for a slight delay. And well, Harry Fletcher leading still with 6.5 minutes to go. Finny Secker has opened up a bit of gap now to Craig McCracken. And well, Jaden Innes currently in 4th place there as he makes his way onwards with Connor Spruce for close company and making their way onwards. As they do, well, we do say hello there to Logan History, who says audio, and we're not quite sure what's happened there. If you've noticed something that's a little bit wrong, Logan, do let us know on the broadcast in case you've spotted something we haven't. Oh, hold up, we spot that, and that is Craig McCracken going very much around there. Not the way he's wanted it to go, and that has gone very sideways for Craig, no doubt about it. But as he brings it back together, well, the Scottish driver there, and a big old spin, and well, definitely not the way he wanted it to go whatsoever, and that promotes him demotes him all the way down to 5th place, and well, now tries to get it back together, but as he does so, well, for the 57 driver here, definitely a bit of a frustrating moment, but I think we might see some mistakes from other drivers, as James Rogers has had an error, and I believe that's at the turn 10 hairpin. So the Canadian driver in the 42, he's going to fall back down behind Kira Boylan at this point, and well, who's in 8th place at the moment, I hear you ask, and looking for that pole position in race number 2, the answer is going to be none other than Gabriel Dutra, who right now, if he was to finish there, he'll be your pole sitter for the second race, and he'll be joined to that front row by Anton Gabrowski. I suspect both drivers at this point will be trying to work together as much as possible here to make sure they don't upset proceedings from each other. Making their way onwards. Well, the number 24 driver here still staying close. Still plenty more fighting between them, and it's going to be exciting to see what comes next. As we also do say hello there to Carbis, free, and a well tune on Connor Spruce there by the looks of things, and Spruce, of course, up into 4th place. Gabriel Dutra right now attacking Gabrowski, and well, looking to try and close that gap down. 5 minutes still left, plus the final lap, of course, and well, any moment a driver could make a mistake, no doubt about it. Well, Dutra will definitely be wary of the fact that should he make an error, he could throw away the opportunity of pole position here. So, as much as he'd like to attack and gain a few more points, does he play it smart? Well, I think the answer is going to be that move is going to come to him at this point, because that was not the best of runs coming out to turn number 4 from Anton Gabrowski. And, well, gets all out of sorts then. That's the interesting thing about this slalom sequence from turns 4 all the way through to turn 8. If you get one corner wrong, the rest of them sunny, you're always on a difficult line. You're off the racing line, and that opens up an opportunity for the driver behind to attack. And Dutra looking around the outside here. Does he get the switchback coming through the hairpin? The answer is yes. Lovely move here from the Brazilian driver. Now looking all the way round. He's going to put him on the outside for turn number 12. This won't be easy. Now, does he brake early or does he brake late? He goes for another switchback here. Takes a lot of curb. Makes sure to keep the throttle planted there and opens up the steering. And now makes his way into 13-14, trying to go around the outside. But, again, long extended right-hander. And as he tries to cut it back, and his game plan, of course, will now be to see him get the better run slingshotting off the corner. And the answer is going to be, by looks of things, no, it's not going to work out. But Gabriel Dutra definitely showing a lot of awareness of the flow of the circuit, and finding that flow can be very valuable with regards to being able to make a move. But in towards turns 1 and 2 they go. And, well, between these drivers at the moment, there's very little between them. And Kira Boylan and Max Moron are closing closely, as Max Moron being the first driver to come up behind the group. But as they make the way on towards this 11th tour of the circuit, or a bit further behind, Kelvin Woodhead, he's still in a happy 12th place, chasing after James Rogers. Rogers, of course, outside the top 10 now, as a result of incident earlier on. And he'll be hoping that he can potentially get himself back into this race a little bit later, albeit his first target, of course, will be to take on Kira Boylan. But I think Kelvin Woodhead might have something to say about that. Oh, goodness me, what on earth's happened there for Gabrowski? And that is coming up the hill in towards, I believe, turn number 6. He's going to toe to the pit lane. In fact, that's on the exit of 4 into 5 there. And, well, that's gone completely around. And Max Braun's going to make a move down Gabriel Dutra. I think Dutra's been a bit of contact there. That front bumper, the front right in particular, looks scarred on the Brazilian number 24 machine. And if so, well, there's a bit of a story to be had. And we might be able to get a replay of that quite quickly. And in fact, we are going to get a replay of it. Here we go. So this was Anton Gabrowski at the time, going through turns 3 into 4, making his way out the bend. As he came out the corner, what happened on exit? It was a tap to the rear there, so that explains the damage on Dutra's car. And Gabrowski, well, a small bump to the rear when the car was unloading itself from the rear to the front, and suddenly went round to the barrier. And a frustrating amount there for Gabrowski, no doubt about it, but an unfortunate incident as well. Meanwhile, Craig McCracken, of course, at the time, he was running very happily in the pursuit of 2nd place, or even 3rd, and this was a couple laps earlier where he lost it coming through turn 7 into 8. The car went one way, he tried to overcorrect it, and the car swapped ends the other way instead. And we had also on lap number 9 this for James Rogers. And Rogers made his way down towards turn number 10. As he did so, what exactly went wrong for the Canadian driver? And the answer is, came in hot on the brakes and a little bit too hot there as he tried to transition onto the throttle, and the rear of the car just had not been pinned down. And we just had this from Mark Martin, I do believe, and well, the priority at the time was in a bit of battle with Richard Revins, and I think here he's going to make a mistake at turn number 12. He's going to be the 3rd victim of this corner, and indeed takes too much curb and goes round. But that explains how the move was made there by Richard Revins. But as we now make our way back to live racing, well, still 1.5 minutes to go, and indeed that's the thing about the curves here at Rudskogen Motor Centre, in the fact they look very flat, but it actually is the situation whereby they're quite high off the corner. But as we do see there, Rich down to 0, saying looks like he's had good pace with regards to John Shorter. In terms of the best lap times, I think we might be able to get those for you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just see if we can. In fact, the answer to that is no, we can't get those lap times for you, but what we can tell you is in terms of laps that are being set, there's your race leader at the moment, going on to his final lap here in his first race today. Well, his best lap has been a 33.95, he's just set a 34.37. Finished 2nd right now, holding on to where's the mid-35s, a 34.78 being his time, and absolutely pushing on ahead of Jaden Innes, who we find now is in 3rd place. There he is, our camera focused on him, and right now the priority doing a fantastic job there, and well, lapping in the 35s as well, the low 35s, and in fact right now you would imagine that he might be getting ready to attack Seka towards the end of this race, as that's not going to be what is Seka making his way out of turn 2 in front of him. That's going to be the car of Anton Gabrowski, who now goes a lap down, but Jaden Innes has found some late pace. John Shorter, by the way, is now getting ready to attack here for what could be 9th place. He's joining a trio right at the end, and in front of him that's Kelvin Woodhead, James Rogers and Kira Boylan. They come through turns 1 and 2, so there's still a bit more to go. As they make their way onwards, I'm being asked the question there in one of the YouTube chats, which is, do I have a favourite livery on this grid? We'll come to that a little bit later on. Let's focus on the racing. And, well, I can't say I've got a favourite, but there's definitely a few liveries that catch my eye. But I don't know about you guys and girls tuning at home. But what catches the eye there, that's the move from Kelvin Woodhead up the inside of Rogers. Doesn't quite work out. James Rogers hold on, but here comes Shorter. Looking up the inside, he can see there that Woodhead is out of sync. And as a result now looks one way, then looks the other way. And what a back and forth this is. But John just had a big slide. But we must cut away from them, ladies and gentlemen, because he comes out the final corner. Will's pole position by almost a second. And after feeling some pressure early on from Seka and McCracken, for Harry Fletcher, it's 3 in a row. It's the first win of the day here for the EFR Rotor Racing driver. And he will take that win by the best part of 11 seconds the end, ahead of Finley Seka, who had to fight hard with Craig McCracken, and he will come home in 2nd place. It's going to be a maiden podium of the season for Jaden Innes. Well done to him, the Canadian really showing off what he's got. And then Connor Spruce takes on 4th place, just ahead of Ben Sieber, finishing directly behind Anton Gabrowski there, a lap down, but there's Ben Sieber holding off McCracken to line for 5th, and then it will be Max Braun in 7th place, and Gabriel Dutra will take home 8th place and pole position for race number 2. Kira Boylan holds off James Rogers, Kelvin Woodhead and John Shorter to line, with Shorter just missed out versus Woodhead by a 10th. And then Thomas Stephen, well, he had a very frustrating start to race once again, 13th ahead of Richard Revins, and then we will see Mark Martin come across line in the end in what will be 15th place, as we just saw Lee Robinson come through your picture. Richie Holder's got a bit of time to go, but let's give a shout out to Kurt Fawcett. He's had a dismal race, but he's not given up. He sees the checker flag there, lap down in 19th place, and then we will see coming to line very shortly Richie Holder. Here he comes, and he will see that finish line in 16th, and he'll be your last lead lap finisher of this one. And goodness me, what a race, ladies and gentlemen. A brilliant one of that. As we do look to the scenic view, well, we've still got plenty more racing to come here. Because, of course, we've got 2 races on our schedule for what is the Rookie Sportscar Cup in every single round. And as we do go into our 5-minute warm-up period for our drivers to have an opportunity to cool them down, well, let's take you through those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as our results appear on screen, of course, these all provisional at the moment. What we can see there for race number 1 here, round number 2 of the races at Rudskogen Motor Centre for the Motorsport UK Esports 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup. Powered by the Sim Racing Collective and supported by our prize partners, Phil and Simagic. Harry Fletcher converting pole to victory. And, well, in the end, by an advantage. But much like we saw at Snetterton, many could argue whilst he did have an outright pace advantage by the best part of around about 7/10 of a second a lap when he got his head down. Also keep in mind the battle for second took priority early on and Fletcher was allowed to break away. But the year 5 with Rotor Racing Drive definitely showing how potent he is behind the wheel of his Mazda MX-5, taking that win ahead of Finley Secker. And the Drive Lounge Racing driver in the end, finishing second in a bit of a lonely second place, losing his battling partner of what was none other than Craig McCracken late on. Jaden Innes surprised himself and indeed surprised everyone with a 3rd place there, but well done to Jaden for that. A brilliant drive from him, and Connor Spruce 4th place there, not too far behind. Ben Seaver, what could it have been if not for that early mistake he made? The DCW Racing driver taking 5th instead of what could have been a podium. Ahead of Craig McCracken, who recovered to 6th, but 9, he wanted to be on that podium for the first time this season. Max Moran for Sim IT Esports Racing, bringing home at 7th ahead of 8th place finisher Gabriel Dutra, and of course he will be on pole for race number 2 as we invert the top 8 finishers from this one. Kira Boylan and James Rogers completed your top 10, and it was Kelvin Woodhead and John Short who scrapped out for 11th place, with what was Woodhead getting the better hand in the end. And we did see Thomas Stephen ahead of Richard Revins and Mark Martin completing the top 15. Richie Holder took 16th place ahead of Anton Gabrowski. Gabrowski being your first lap down finisher, and it's also a lap down finish for Robinson, as in Lee Robinson and Kurt Fawcett. And we also did see, unfortunate early retirement after the jump start from Matthew Shade, but he's going to be back for race number 2, and we look forward to seeing him trying to come through the field. But what a race, ladies and gentlemen, no doubt about it. All 20 of our drivers putting on absolute spectacle, and well, in the end, that was none other than race number 1. But of course, we've got another one to come. Coming up very shortly will be our top 8 inverted 20-minute race number 2, and well, we've had some absolutely stellar performances so far from our drivers, but who's going to spark up even more surprises in what will be our second and final race of the day? Now, of course, Harry Fletcher sitting there in the pit box at the moment, but he thinks to himself, well, that's exactly how I wanted to start off the day, but now he's going to find a way to try and make it 2 from 2. But remember, of course, he will start in 8th place and he has to fight his way through. He did that, of course, in what was round number 1, Snetterton inverted grid race, quickly making his way into 3rd place come the end of the open lap, only then to find some very stiffer competition in front of him. But a lot of our drivers right now out of their cars, not in the pit lane as well, so it's a bit of a quiet circuit. Fletcher and Secker both in the pit, and Richard Revins putting in some more time. But many of you already saying there, in the Motorsport UK Esports YouTube chat, the fact that it's going to be an interesting race of Sky and Mayonnaise. I take the words directly there from our viewer, and we'll come back to the question of Carvis Free, which is with regards to, I know there's no bias on drivers or teams, but does Paul Walsh have a favourite livery? And well, your answer to that question is, I can't have a favourite livery, but I can definitely say some liveries are eye-catching out there. The DCW Racing livery that you see from Ben Sieber, there's a bit of a story to that livery. That is the DCW Racing livery that has been run on their cars for the best part of a decade. I do know they're planning to modernise their livery soon, but DCW Racing have been a very long-established team, and, well, they've been going for so long, in fact, that I do believe now they're more family in terms of all the drivers. They know each other so well. Indeed, they've all met on the simulator, but they know each other in real life. So that's one that definitely catches my eye. Another one that catches my eye, of course, is Harry Fletcher's livery. That combination of brown into blue into yellow striping always does look quite poignant on the car and definitely a bit iconic. Richard Revins here, of course, as well does have quite a lovely livery. A very straightforward one, to be fair, with the white with the red stripes. But to be fair, you could say they go faster stripes and they're pushing them on all the same. And indeed, sometimes the simpler liveries aren't always the catching ones. Jaden Innes, of course, I do believe still running his livery because he is one of the academy drivers for the team the academy team of Kuda Motorsport, which is a bit of an interesting team. The story behind that team all arising from essentially two teams at the time when they were racing on other sim racing platforms, both deciding to break away from a main team and then forming their own team. And they became Kuda Motorsport, and their academy drivers, Kuda Academy, and Jaden Innes is one of them, and he's running their very standard white with light blue livery out there. As we do see Harry Fletcher making his way out, and I think he's heard that we want to see his livery on the car, and indeed a lovely livery it must be said, and we're showing his fandom, of course, for his favourite football team, as I do believe he's a big fan of West Ham United, unless I'm mistaken, unless it's an Aston Villa livery, to be fair, and well, I'm going to be found a little bit guilty if I've got that wrong. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, whether I've got that wrong or right, I can definitely get one thing right tonight, and that is we're going to the grid now for race number 2. And as we do make our way to the grid for the second and final time today, this is how all of our drivers will line up with the top 8 inversion of the results from race 1. Gabriel Dutra takes his first pole position of the season, inverted grid-wise, and he'll be joined in that front row by Max Moron. The Sim IT Esports racing team driver there, taking a season-best qualifying start, and indeed taking an even better start for this race. Craig McCracken and Ben Seed will be on row 2, and then we will see Connor Spruce and Jaden Innes on row 3. Row 4 completing that top 8 inversion, Finley Secker and your race 1 winner of Harry Fletcher. Then on row number 5, Kira Boyner and James Rogers will complete that top 10 ahead of Kelvin Woodhead and John Shorter. Outside of the top 12, it will be none other than Thomas Stephen and Richard Revins, ahead of Mark Martin and Richie Holder. Then we'll see on row number 9, Anton Gabrowski and Lee Robinson, and completing that grid, Kurt Fawcett and Matthew Shade. And keep your eyes out for both of them. They'll be hoping for a much happier race compared to their race number 1 of the day. But all the drivers are almost in position. That's how all 20 of the drivers will line up. And as they all get ready to go for the second and final time today, well, it's going to be very exciting to see who exactly can put the rubber down and who is going to lead the way to the finish. But as we see Gabriel Dutra absolutely ready to go, and well, we can see there Jakob, I do believe that's Jakob Lusnak, who is cheering on none other than John Shorter. Jakob, a question for you, or indeed I think it might be Rich down to 0. In fact, I need to ask the question too, and that is with regards to the fact that you're going to be seeing John Shorter racing at Brands Hatch at the end of this month in July. Do let us know what John Shorter is racing in series-wise, because I'm sure there'll be a few who are very interested. A lot of these drivers as well are definitely looking to potentially take their first steps into real-life motorsport, and the great thing about iRacing is it is a launch pad for what is your first ever experience behind a car at racing speeds. And when you jump on the simulator and then go to a circuit, you'll find it's about 50 to 60% of the way there. And I'll be transparent with you guys and girls at home. I take my cars on track days. I use iRacing to get myself set up for a track day, not car setup wise, but to familiarise myself with the feel of a circuit. It's not the same always. You don't have the physical G-forces, but it gets me about 50% of the way there with regards to my familiarisation. So I'm in the right place at the right time to know exactly where my braking zones are and what are the trickiest corners when I do go out and track myself. And I suspect a lot of drivers will be very keen to use iRacing as their launch pad into real racing. But we are just waiting for one car to make its way into position at the moment. I do believe Mark Martin right now getting himself set. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here come the lights. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 red lights. And it's lights out, away we go for the second and final race of round number 2 of the championship. And Gabriel Dutra gets a good start, but look at Max Moron as he tries to pin himself to the middle of the road here to cover off Dutra. And well, will he get the run through the opening quarters? We will see here. Too wide they enter in. He's going to go round, a big clatter there to the front bumper of Gabriel Dutra. Well, that was definitely a bit of a shunt, but they both survived that. Oh, what's going wrong in the rear of the picture? That's going to be 5 wide for a brief moment. And I think John Shorter finds himself once again hemmed in. Oh, car going across the road. That's a rejoin onto the grass and then back onto the tarmac. And I believe that's the spinning car there of Richard Revens, I want to say. Mark Martin not taken to the grid due to a technical issue of the car, but meanwhile, what's going on at the front of the field is there's plenty of fighting still. As Finley second, Gabriel Dutra go battling with Harry Fletcher and Connor Spruce together. It's been an exciting start to the race, and well, Harry Fletcher up to 6th place already. Gabriel Dutra being muscled down the order into 5th. As they roar the way on through the quarters right now, well, we can see as they get ready for turn 7 8 here, more fighting mine. That's James Rogers 2 wide with Kira Boylan, and these two have plenty of fighting to say in the final 10 minutes of race number 1. And right now, well, that's cold tyres there and a little bit of power oversteer for James Rogers. He loses out versus Boylan here on the start of race number 2. Matthew Shades had a bit of difficulty further down the order from my here, but we'll have to wait and see where he fits into the picture. And meanwhile, as these drivers make the way on around, well, definitely an exciting start to the race. As we do see Finley second right now, trying to pull away from Dutra, the all red and black machine, holding off Harry Fletcher, and Connor Spruce and Jaden Innes there. Was Connor Spruce, lovely livery on that car. The number 27 machine really bringing that car to life, it must be said. But we must stop with the aesthetic admiration for now, and instead admire what is the absolutely brilliant battling action of our drivers, of our rookies as they make the way to town. But after one lap then, it is Max Moron. Had a bit of a rough start, but to be fair, he's leading. And Craig McCracken right behind him. Ben Sieber in third. Finley second in fourth, going in free place at the start. Then it's a 1.5 second gap to Gabriel Dutra, who right now is trying to keep Harry Fletcher behind. The Brazilian holding off the Briton for now. Connor Spruce in 7th place ahead of Jaden Innes. And then we have Kira Boylan and James Rogers completing that top 10. And Tom Grabowski in 11th place. Best of rest right now, but he wants a bit more than this. We had a bit of difficulty for Kurt Fawcett, and I believe Fawcett may have had to just tow to the pit lane due to a technical issue. We'll try and come back to that when we can, as Richie Holder still pushing on, albeit we briefly lose Richie and then he rematerialises from the ether. I think a few of our drivers had some slight internet discontinuities today, but that can happen, of course. But as they all weave and wind their way on through, and well, we look back to the front of the field. Well, Max Moron still doing everything well so far. And we're coming on through the left-hander. Well, we can see Ben Sieber a little bit further behind, and we're on the way on down the hill. Well, we can see there Sieber and Seka battling. But Ben Sieber right now didn't really get the chance to show what he could do in race number 1 after that early incident. But in this one right now, he's got a brilliant opportunity to really reveal his fangs. He makes his way through these quarters. And, well, right now, defending hard here versus Seka, as Moran and what is McCracken, they're getting ready to fight each other as well. So it's getting a little bit dicey at the front. Meanwhile, further back here, we've got some change afoot. And I think that's John Shorter coming over the hill. And he's trying to find his way past Kelvin Woodhead. And James Rogers on the inside of Shorter, and right now Rogers is not letting this go. I think John really does want to get the move on here. I think he knows that he has got the pace to try and go for a top 10. It's just not working out for him at the moment. It's a bit frustrating for James Rogers, but understandably there will be more time to go. As they roar the way out, we haven't even completed the opening quarter of this race yet, so read into it what you will, as we see Craig McCracken attacking here on the inside, onto lap number 3, and coming all the way round. Max Moron in the end to run wide. That is going to be a slowdown penalty for the track limit breach, and at this point, understandably now, that's Ben Sieber, and Sieber's going to try and make it free wide here down the inside. Well, right now he's got to commit to this at this point, and well, the British driver Moron is going to have to give up that time gradually, otherwise that will be upgraded to a drive-through penalty. But here we go, Sieber on the inside, and Craig McCracken will get clear of the pair of them. So Craig McCracken in the end takes the lead this race for now, but Ben Sieber tucks up the inside, gets his elbows out, and well, definitely give it a bit of a nudge there to McCracken as Finley Seka now sees the opportunity here. He's going to try and go around the outside to the inside. A little bit of a touch there versus McCracken, but just gives himself the space. And McCracken there does give him the space to cooperate again to where they come through turns 7 and 8. Right now, Ben Sieber into the lead this race. Absolutely daring driving the DCW Racing driver here. And as he comes down the hill, we're getting ready for that braking zone into the hairpin. Finley Seka trying to outbrake McCracken. McCracken dives in, and it's going to be contact between all 3 of them. And in the end, the cameras pick it up. And well, Ben Sieber for DCW Racing definitely been elbowed out there. And it's Snetterton all over again for what is Ben Sieber in terms of the fact when he's looking for a chance to win in the end. Well, he's definitely going to be settling for a podium this time. He's going to be settling for far further down the order. But Craig McCracken right now in the attack. And well, Finley Seka's going to pick up all the pieces as a result of that, as Max Moron now looking for an opportunity. And we're coming all the way through turn number 14. Right now, the Scotsman here versus the Briton. And well, McCracken just inches ahead for now. And understand, I think what's happened there with regards to McCracken and Seka, they were fighting each other so hard, and I think under braking, Craig McCracken just simply missed his brake marker, thinking more about Seka, and then in the end, once he committed to the braking zone, Ben Sieber was just a passenger in the scenario there. I don't think there's anything else that can be done. A very unfortunate one, and well, as they make the way around, we do say hello there to Jack Rowley, and well, all these drivers still pushing on as much as humanly possible. But as they all cover down towards turns 2 and 3 and 4, well, Gabriel Dutra right now still there. Harry Fletcher now up into 4th place, taking a bit of a sneak peek out the inside of Max Moron. And well, Fletcher definitely playing this one a little bit more cautiously compared to Snetterton. He seems to be quite gung-ho at Snetterton in terms of making up those places, but I think it's the nature of the circuit here is what is motivating him just to take these places one by one, as we do see a mistake there from Craig McCracken, goes a bit wide, and at that point, well, it's an off track because he's had to put the brakes on. He has not taken too much time out of that, so he won't get a slowdown penalty. He does actually take the lead of the race as well of this, and Finley Seka right now is going to be looking at this and thinking, okay, well, how does that check out? Well, the problem is that Craig McCracken, I think, he had just about made it to the corner when he did run wide, but understandably, I think right now they're in race mode here, and Finley Seka's going to look up the inside. McCracken does give him a doorway in at that point, and I think it's going to be Seka who's going to go on the attack. And, well, definitely each driver's working absolutely as hard as humanly possible right now. But all their fighting going on, let's not forget we've got fighting going on further down the order. We'll try and pan to this as quickly as we can. As we do see Anton Gabrowski here with John Shorter. And James Rogers just started to break away a little bit in front of them. But more fighting to come between these drivers, and well, all great excitement. But from them, going on to another lap, McCracken versus Secker then. It's going to be part 2 of their battle as they make their way through turns 1 and 2. Into left-hander, McCracken inside now to the outside of turn 2, the right-hander. Bit of a touch there between him and Secker. And Finley Secker not afraid to get his elbow slightly out and trade some paint and insurance details as they now make their way down towards turn 3. Here comes Max Veron looking for an opportunity as we ride aboard with the CB. Oh, and there's going to be contact between him and Craig McCracken, who's sent spearing to the wall. And well, there I think Craig McCracken getting caught out. I'd be interested to see an alternative camera angle of that one as Finley Secker goes sideways, and he's more sideways than straight. He gets it together. Everyone checks up. Oh, and it all goes wrong behind as Harry Fletcher manages to use the escape road there to avoid it all. And Connor Spruce comes through as well. And suddenly, Gabriel Duch up into second, Connor Spruce into third. And it all goes backwards down the order there for Max Veron and also Finley Secker. And I think Secker just overloaded the front of the car. And with all that weight going forward, suddenly it all went wrong for them. But what this does do, of course, is suddenly promotes a whole host of drivers who are at the back end of the top 10 into the top 5 for the first time today. And well, Connor Spruce up the inside of Gabriel Ducha there. I think there might have been a bit of elbows out between them. But I think Connor Spruce getting that move done as quickly as he could. And right now he sees a golden opportunity here to try and go from 5th all the way to the front. Harry Fletcher, meanwhile, 3 seconds away at this point. I think Fletcher at this point is going to be thinking to himself, well, the road's been made open for me. All I need to at this point now is get it to the finish line. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he does now, given the pace he delivered in race number 1. But again, doorway had to be open for him to do that. Gabriel Ducha, meanwhile, now having to dig in as much as possible. And as they make the way on out to turn number 14, down towards turn 1 he goes. And the Brazilian driver here now has a lot of friends behind him to deal with, including Kira Boylan, who'll be chasing her first podium of the season, Jaden Innes and Thomas Stephen. And he's trying to make it back-to-back podiums. Thomas Stephen, meanwhile, just loves to make it one podium here today if he can, in the all-red machine at the back of the quartet. As they come through on to lap number 6, well, still more to come. And, well, exciting this one, no doubt about it. But we have had some big moments, and we will get some replays of those big moments very shortly. I think one of the first moments, of course, was what happened to Ben Sieber. Before we do that, however, Finley Secker in a car that's definitely missed the front bumper, as well as some other parts on the front. He's going to look for a move here on Anton Gabrowski. Car in a fit enough condition to race at the moment, although that damage at the front, that's going to make steering a lot more difficult, and he'll lose some straight line speed as he makes his way up the hill. And as he does so, Anton Gabrowski here right now having to go a bit defensive through the slalom as they get ready to peak out turns 7 and 8. Heading all the way out the rise, we see James Rogers just in front, and then John Shorter and Kelvin Woodhead behind. And these drivers right now, I think, trying to get back into a fight sooner rather than later. But as we get ready to see them make their way into the hairpin, well, is Secker going to go for the move here? Is he going to try and dive? No, not quite. Gabrowski goes defensive. Secker lulls him into it. It's a dummy. Secker sells it. Now can he get it done? Not quite. That doesn't quite get the momentum out the corner. I mean, you can see what he's going for here. Finley Secker channeling is in the Nigel Mansell. And, well, it's working out. It's putting Gabrowski on the back foot here. But look at John Shorter get ready to attack again. He's not out of this, is John. You love to see the 220 driver. No matter how many times he gets sent down the order, he does not give up. That is a plucky British spirit if I've ever seen it. But as he makes one out, well, right now, the 220 driver, seeing that Secker's run very wide. Secker using all the road and the runoff area. That will give him an instant point. That won't give him a slowdown penalty because he actually loses time being out there, given the fact there's a lot of marbles that get picked up, so he naturally will pick up a bit more friction, and also it will hurt his braking lines into the first couple of corners of the next lap, with John Shorter right now getting ready to pounce if he can, to go from 11th to 10th, and onwards he will try to go. But as he comes out the corner right now, well, behind him, there's not too much pressure from Kelvin Woodhead at the moment. Woodhead a bit too far back. But Kira Boylan, let's come to her versus Jaden Innes. And Jaden Innes up the inside of the number 14 driver. Boylan goes to the switchback here. And this could be a very smooth move from her. But what will Innes do here? Can he get it done? The answer is not quite. A bit of a touch between the two of them. In towards turn number 5 they go. Innes on the inside. Boylan outside to inside now through 6. And in 7, 8 they come. And a lovely bit of driving there for Kira Boylan. But here comes Innes back once again. Jaden Innes is not done with this battle yet, and he says it's over when it's over, when I say it's over. And Boylan says, well, allow me to tell you it's over when I say it's over. As they come down the hill, still too wide into the hairpin, showing a lot of respect for each other. And Innes right now goes a bit too deep. Boylan now switching up, and as they make the way through turn 11 in towards 12, Innes is still on the inside. Now, does he go for it here, knowing how tight that line's going to be? He does, and well, that's going to compromise both their lines. It means that Gabriel Duch now will have a 1.5 second gap to play with. And look who's called caught up. And it's going to be more drivers there, but it's Thomas Stephen and Max Moron. As we are, Anton Gabrowski is causing the queue behind him with Finley Secker, James Rogers and John Shorter. And right now you've got quartets and quintets wherever you look. It's absolutely brilliant racing between our rookies. And well, of course, yes, there will be some bumps. Yep, there will be some scrapes, but to be fair, if there weren't bumps and scrapes, we wouldn't be looking at rookies, to be fair. It wouldn't be classic MX5 Cup racing. But as they come through, in towards the left into right, Kira Boylan right now getting a bit firm there versus Thomas Stephen and saying, no, Thomas, you can go fight Max as far as I'm concerned. I've got a date here with Jaden, and meanwhile, you can have fun with Moran instead. But I think Thomas Stephen's not going to like that too much. And now heading down the hill, we've still got 8 minutes of this race to go, and I get the feeling it's by no means over in the fight for who's going to be inside that top 5. That's to come through turns 3 and 4. The corner's caught out so many drives today in the hot hatches and also in the Rookie Sportscar Cup series. Well, we can see that Anton Karowski going very defensive. Finley Secker still trying to pick his way around the outside. Does he get it done this time? Onto the inside he goes. It's going to be a bit of a touch. They make contact. And do they survive it? The answer is yes, they do. But right now, Secker comes back on. And he's only got one place he can rejoin, to be fair. And Gabrowski did well there to give him the space at the last possible moment. Both of them, however, do pick up a slowdown penalty for their altercation. That's because they have both cut track limits going through turn number 5. And Secker immediately burns it down the inside. Gabrowski, I think, is going to try and burn it a little bit more gently by comparison, as Secker has to give back the best part of 3 seconds worth of time, as I understand it. And, well, that's going to hurt him considerably. But with all that, Gabriel Dutra right now, he's on to 3rd place in the meantime, and well, he's definitely finding he's got some company. Connor Spruce is not really breaking away, as Harry Fletcher is lapping in the 34.5s. These two right now lapping in the 35.6s, as in the end, Gabriel Dutra making an absolute mistake there coming through turn 14. As he does so, that's going to be Jaden Innes and Connor Spruce both for getting clear of him. So Innes now up into 3rd, Dutra right there with him. And then behind, Kira Boylan and Thomas Stephen. Here comes Stephen looking for the move for 5th place. And Boylan just parks the car in the middle of the road and says, nope, that's not going to work. I've seen that one before. Max Ron now looking around the outside. Can he potentially get a move done? The answer is going to be no at this time. Doesn't work out for him. And Jaden Innes, meanwhile, well, he's still holding on to 3rd, 2 attempts ahead of Gabriel Dutra. Dutra still trying to attack for that position. But as they make their way in towards turns 3 and 4, we do take a quick look back in time and saw the big moments, including what happened to none other than what was Ben Sieber when he did have that toe to the pit lane. So this was back on lap number 3, and this was the DCW Racing driver at the time, of course, running in at the hunt for the win. And we're under braking, Craig McCracken battling with Finley Secker, and unfortunately McCracken coming in way too hot, and Sieber being turned there, and the rear right suspension dropping and collapsing as a result of that contact. We had some difficulty for Lee Robinson on lap number 4, and this was Robinson in the end, finding himself battling hard at the time. That was battling with John Shorter, amongst others. Into the braking zone he went, and, well, brief taps to the rear of Shorter's car, but that sent him around, and Kelvin Woodhead having to take evasive action. We had this for Craig McCracken on lap number 5, and this was McCracken fighting at the time with Max Moron. I think they're based on that camera angle. Don't quote me on this, to be fair. The stewards will definitely have a look at that. I wonder if McCracken's actually slightly come across Moron there based on that camera angle. Not the easiest angle to look at. This is what it looked like from on board Moron's perspective, but this isn't a great angle. And, well, that's going to be the big question mark. Was Moron holding a straight line with the contour of the road, or was he going left, or was it McCracken coming to the right? But, of course, there's always going to be a pinch there. And then we, of course, had this. This was the onboard of Moron seeing Finley Secker go sideways. And in the end, he had to try and get it together. And Harry Fletcher somehow found a way past all of it. And then Moron getting a huge shunt on the rear of the car. This is what it looked like from the exterior cameras. And was they made the way out through the corner. There was Secker getting it wrong. Moron on the inside line. Fletcher went all the way around the outside. And in the end, Gabriel Dutra tapping Moron on the rear, which sent him forward. Secker was trying to get it under control and clip the rear of Moron's car. It was a set of dominoes falling there. But well done to everyone for, in the end, avoiding turning that into an absolutely huge set of shunts. They did very well to try and keep that all together. But with that, we now come back to your live racing. And, well, as we do come back, we haven't got long left, to be fair. 5 minutes left to go. This race has definitely been full of absolute bumper-to-bumper action. Sometimes more than bumpers, but at the same time as well, everyone learning as they go. And don't tell me, no, surely not. Thomas Stevens had a spin there at turn 7. I don't believe the number 4 driver's luck. You couldn't make this up for him right now. He's got so much pace, and he's gone round there at turn 7. I think it's the tyres are just going on that car. And for Thomas Stephen, well, we don't want to see him down in 11th place. We want to see him up there for podiums. But here today, it's definitely been. He's got the pace. It's just not worked out. And as he gets it back together, well, meanwhile, Max Moron, holding Kira Boylan at bay. These two still fighting for 5th. They have let Gabriel Dutra and Jason Innes get away. Well, John Shorter just behind him there, you can see he's at James Rogers, Anton Gabrowski and Finley Secker. And right now John Shorter absolutely flying high. He's making a lot of ground, is the man who definitely had that difficult race number 1, finishing 12th place in the end. But right now he's really enjoying himself out there. And as they make the way onto lap number 11, we're going defensive initially versus James Rogers. What's it going to be in turn 1? Rogers goes to the move and Shorter then calls him at his bluff. And it's not going to be a risk of losing that place. And Anton Gabrowski here tries to get his nose in on the inside of the Canadian. Rogers at the end, make his way on through and making the way on down. Well, right now, the 42 driver holding his ground still. Now, a little bit of trivia regarding James Rogers, by the way. He's actually a British driver, but he's flying the Canadian flag. And the reason for that is, well, hold the phone on that, because Gabrowski is going to make the look at the inside there. And, well, we don't want to interrupt a brilliant battle. And Gabrowski gets that move done. Now, where will he appear? There he appears, coming out the corner, and Rogers backs off there. So, good move from Gabrowski, but the reason why Rogers does fly what is the Canadian flag is because a good portion of his family is based in Canada and also he has a huge affinity for the country. So therefore, that's why he's representing the country. He is a British driver by birth, I do believe, or at least where he resides, but he is representing Canada, which is lovely. A great little story there. Thank you to James for sharing that with me so I can share it on with you guys and girls that tuned it in. And it's great to see so many different nationalities being represented. Whether a driver lives in that country, was born there, or says he has all their family in a given country. But either way, indeed, an international event this is, hosted by Motorsport UK Esports. But as all drivers wind this race through, well, John Shorter right now definitely seeing if he can hold on to that 7th place versus Anton Gabrowski. Looking quite safe at the moment at least, although to be fair, one moment he's safe, the next one he may not be. And looking to the front of the field, Harry Fletcher right now onto his penultimate lap here today. And right now leading this race again by almost 12 seconds over Connor Spruce. And there is Spruce right now feeling that pressure from Innes and Dutra behind. And well, as these 3 drivers come together, who's going to be on the final 2 steps of the podium? Will it be Spruce and Innes, or will there be a change of foot before the race is over? And in all of that, let's not forget that we've got Richard Revins attacking Kelvin Woodhead here for 12th place. So these two coming back together. Revins had that difficult start to the race. Woodhead, meanwhile, had a bit of a frustrating mid-portion, but they're both not going to let those frustrations shine, and instead they're going to give us some absolutely great racing. And that's what we're excited to see as they come down towards turn number 3. Well, is it going to be Revins looking to the inside? The Latvian driver thinks about it, and once he thinks about it, I think he's going to commit to it. The answer will be into the braking zone. He doesn't quite get it done in the end. A bit brave on the brakes was Richard Revit, but was Kelvin Woodhead. And Revins there having to just wait a little bit longer. Tries to get his nose in at turn number 4. But right now, Woodhead just fended him off, but runs a bit wide. And going to have to go defensive by design through turn number 5 to make sure he holds the position. As they come up the hill through in towards turn 7 and 8, that battle may take a little bit longer before we do see Revins get a chance. Going on Connor Spruce here, we still feel the pressure from Jaden Iddis, who right now, if he was any close at this point, I get the feeling they'd be too wide the entirety of the lap. Making the way onwards towards turns 13 and 14. One driver who already goes on to its final lap of today. The white flag waves. It's Harry Fletcher. One more to go. And, well, this is going to be 4 wins in a row. Should he see the checker flag at this rate? But as we come back to Connor Spruce, makes his way on through. And, well, getting ready for what will be and turn number 1, will Spruce here go defensive versus Innes? He is going to. So Jaden Innes should, in theory, have the better run through in towards turn number 2. Spruce has got to beat him to the braking zones behind. That's Max Veron passing Gabriel Dutra up the inside. So Veron now up into 4th again. But Connor Spruce there defending well as they make the way on through. And there you can see the battle in full splendour as they get ready to come down in towards turn number 3. But Innes now, with that momentum building, a bit of side draft as well, it's going to put him in an attacking position into that braking zone. On the inside, you've got to brake about 30 metres earlier than the guy on the outside. And in the end, Jaden Innes goes for it. And he does move into 2nd place. Lovely move from Jaden. And Connor Spruce right now getting ready to attack. But has he got any tyre life left? Has he got anything left in the tank here to find a way to attack? As Max Ron sits in 4th place at the Gabriel Dutra. Well, that's your top 5 as it stands, with Kira Boylan 1.3 seconds behind, watching our distance, hoping that she might be able to get involved. In the Woodhead-Revins battle, it's still Woodhead ahead of Revins, and much like the previous lap, it's going to be a bit of a move here for Richard Revins, trying to go around the outside. He's going to attempt it here, and he does get it done. Lovely little move there from the Rev Racing driver. I think even Woodhead would appreciate that, and well, he'll take that place. But meanwhile, coming through the final corner, in race number 1, it was straightforward. In race number 2, he had to go well around the outside to clear what was an instant. But for Harry Fletcher, it doesn't matter either way how he does it. He wins in race number 4 of the season. And, well, it's back-to-back victories races here at Rudskogen for Fletcher. And behind the EFR Rotor Racing driver, who will be in second place? Well, he took his first podium of the season in race number 1. He's now going to make it 2 in a row. How about that? It's Jaden Innes who comes over in second place ahead of Max Moron, who steals away third place at the end there from Connor Spruce. Not quite sure what's happened to Spruce, but I'll have to try and look back at that if we can. And Gabriel Dutra will complete your top 5. Kira Bolland takes 6th ahead of Anton Gabrowski. John Shorter there recovers well from 12th to 8th place. Well done to John for that. Just holding off Finley Secker, where James Rogers completed your top 10. The smokes goes up there from somebody doing some donuts. Thomas Stephen takes 11th place ahead of Richard Revens, who holds off Kelvin Woodhead to the finish. And then we will see Matthew Shade, who we didn't get to see too much of it in this race, but to be fair, he's going to make his way all the way from last place up to 14th. As he makes his way through the final quarter, battling with Lee Robinson, and we briefly lose Shade, but we're going to find him come back into the picture. Good to see him get into the end there. A bit of a difficult race number 1, but to be fair, absolutely owns the situation, and he's going to own that 14th place and bring home some very valuable points. Lee Robinson comes home in 15th there, and he'll be your last lead lap finisher with Kurt Fawcett bringing it home in 16th lap down, and we did have retirement. So Richie Holder, Craig McCracken, Ben Sieber, and Mark Martin. But just before we do take a look at the provisional race results, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a question to answer. How did Connor Spruce get passed by Max Moron? Here's your answer. And well, this was on the final lap coming through turn number 12. Now, it was Spruce. Oh, Spruce got it wrong there. And well, that corner caught so many out in race number 1. And Connor Spruce then had to literally take the car to turn 14 to get it calmed down. Goodness me, the British driver there almost had it loop round on him, but just about got it together. And well, as he heads it towards the timing line, Gabriel Dutra pretty much pushed him across the line at that point, given the way Spruce was never going to let that place go. But a late little bit of a change. And well, goodness me, what an end to the race. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we make our way back to your live circuit side pictures. We do see there what was Harry Fletcher doing some donuts at the time, celebrating his back-to-back wins. And well, let's take a look at those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. As our drivers cool them down, we do look to the scenic view, and here are said results. And well, race number 1 definitely saw the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup here at Rudskogen for round number 2 have plenty of battle in action. And well, race number 2 turned it up to 11, as Spinal Tap would say. Harry Fletcher, therefore, making it back-to-back wins here today for EFR Rotor Racing. And well, in the end, he was gradually making his way through, but a huge instant between several of our leading drivers midway through the race, coming through turns 3 and 4, opened up the door for him to go round the outside. And some great evasive driving there enabled Fletcher to take the lead, and he never looked back. Then it was the battle for second place, and Jaden Innes came out on top, going from 3rd in his race number 1 to 2nd in this one. Indeed, back-to-back podiums there for the Canadian driver. He'll be absolutely grinning from ear to ear. Max Moron taking 3rd there for Sim It Racing Esports team. And we're onto the podium there. A brilliant drive for him. And, well, then Connor Spruce taking home 4th place. And the privateer just ahead of Gabriel Dutra. The Brazilian driver definitely pushed hard for that podium. Didn't quite work together. And I do know that some of his fans will be a little bit upset he didn't get onto the podium. But to be fair, that 5th place, he earned it the hard way. And one day, I'm sure this season, he will be getting a podium. Kira Boylan taking 6th there for Motorsport Woman. Definitely looked very formidable out there. Not quite a top 5, but definitely moving forward in the field. And John Shorter, 7th place there. Now, we need to give you a quick update. We do have a penalty that's been applied to a driver. This is not by stewards. This is by the iRacing automated system, and that is a post-race time penalty for Anton Gabrowski, who finished 7th on the road, but he did pick up enough instant points to get a drive-through penalty in this race, and it does mean, I believe, he has had 40 seconds added to his post-race time, and that means that sadly for Gabrowski, he will drop all the way down to 15th place. So a sad end today there for Anton Gabrowski, but it will open up then plenty of places. So John Shorter promoted from 8th to 7th as one example, and those behind also doing the same, with Finley 2nd, 8th in the end for Drive Lounge Racing, James Rogers and Thomas Stephen. It was a bit of a frustrating race number 2 for Thomas Stephen, all that pace, but unfortunately a spin cost him places, and Richard Revens enjoying a good scrap for best of the rest as it would turn out versus Kelvin Woodhead, and taking that place on the last lap for Rev Racing. Matthew Shade, 13th there, ahead of Lee Robinson, and your last finisher on the lead lap, Anton Gabrowski with that post-race time penalty. We saw a lap down finish for Kurt Fawcett, as we did see 4 laps down for Richie Holder with a technical issue for the car, forced him to tow to the pit lane, and Craig McCracken with a huge shunt in the end, retiring with a few laps to go, and sadly the same for Ben Sieber and Mark Martin. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our races here from the Rudskogen Motor Centre, but it doesn't quite conclude our broadcast, because coming up in approximately 3 to 4 minutes time, we'll be back with some post-round interviews with our drivers, and we'll get to hear from a variety of drivers in the interview room, so don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss what our drivers got to say about some absolutely thrilling racing today here in Norway. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's time for us to kick off our post-round interviews with our Rookie Sportscar Cup drivers. And who better to come to, of course, than our two-time winner from here today, and with it, of course, now a four-time winner season, who's joining me now in the interview room is going to be none other than Harry Fletcher. And as he joins me in the interview room now, Harry, good evening to you. Another two wins back-to-back. I mean, there's going to be a big grin on your face, but how was that for you today?
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant, mate. Another 2 from 2 wins, fastest lap in both. Maximum points again.
Oh, indeed. I mean, when you score big, you don't leave any points on the table. But compared to Snetterton, this Rudskogen circuit, I mean, many have said it's a very hard circuit to get right. How have you found it?
I actually, like, consistency, it's been a bit hard, but, like, outright pace, I felt quite comfortable with it. As you saw in quali, I've found it to suit my driving style with all the elevation changes, and especially the downhill right-hander. That was lovely.
Well, you definitely look quite comfortable out there. In terms of qualifying, we saw you take pole in the end by the best part of 9 attempts. I mean, a very strong lap out there. I have to ask, what's your secret to getting that lap time?
Just practice, and honestly, practice and practice and practice. It is literally that. It is just so much practice. It works wonders.
Well, the practice has worked wonders. And in race number 1, we saw a similar situation to Snetterton race number 1. Great start from yourself, albeit there was, of course, the jump starter. But after that was resolved, it looked like until the battle for second kicked off, you were having to look in your rearview mirrors a bit.
To be honest, I actually didn't look in my rearview mirrors. We knew once the jump start had happened, I knew like to not worry about him. It's fine. It was the game plan was same as Snet. First lap, try and break the toe. and then just build and build, consistent, and that all fell into plan.
Well, it definitely came together, and that consistency really paying off. I mean, a win by the best part of 12 seconds in race 1. I get the feeling you're quite excited then for what was to come in race number 2.
Oh yeah, I was like, now the real challenge begins, because now I'd have to work up through the pack. I knew that Finley was going to be quick as well, and I knew that the top lot weren't going to hang about, which I was quite worried about in race 2 when I was stuck behind Gabrielle for a bit. But once I got through them, straight on the other pack.
Now, I have to ask, of course, like you say, you're a bit worried about the way the field would play it. It looked like you were taking your time a bit, making your way through the field. And then we had all the chaos that unfolded at turns 3 and 4, and you went round the outside of it all. I mean, was that a very late reaction for yourself to go, okay, it's all going wrong, quick, take the widest line possible and just pray?
Well, I had a bit of a moment going into turn 3, so my first thought was, right, save that one, and that was why I was taking my time, because you knew they're going to make mistakes. And as soon as he went into turn 3, you could see he was like, his back end was going to go, so you knew, all right, he's just going to spin, take it wide, nice and wide, come back in, and just dodge the accident.
Well, you did well to avoid the incident, and after that, it looks like you were able to repeat race 1 in a way and just gradually break away. I mean, you must be feeling quite comfortable now having 2 races leading up front like that.
Yeah, but there's no race for the wicked. Like, the attention straight after this will be on Oschersleben.
Well, speaking of Oschersleben, how are you feeling for the German circuit next Monday?
Expecting it to be a little bit like snap. I've got a mate of mine who's like who knows it quite well, so hope to learn a lot off of him. But I've got to practice for the Spa 24-hour special event that is also this weekend, so that'll be quite interesting to practice for both.
Well, definitely. You're practicing for Spa 24 hours. I mean, going from GT3s back to MX5s. I don't know how you do it. Plus, also, I think you've had barely any sleep with the England football game, from what I understand.
Yeah, no, I'm not staying up for that. I mean, of course, being a West Ham fan and all, you watch England. Nail biter towards the end of that one, it was, yeah, but we're used to it. I mean, used to doing a few 24 hours now, so kind of used to no sleep. Doesn't help as well being in the Corvette for it, so front engine to then mid-engined.
Oh, goodness me. Well, you're definitely a man of many talents and a lack of sleep, I can tell you that. But just before I do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to or a mention on the broadcast?
Just my old teammates and my friends. They've just been, the support has just been crazy once again. Pretty sure my dad also watched some of the races as well, so I know for a fact he watched race 1 because he messaged me 11 seconds laughing. So, yeah, that was good fun.
Well, I'm sure your dad's very proud of you, Harry. We're very pleased to see how you get it on. Congratulations on back-to-back Wednesday. We'll see if you can continue it at Oschersleben. But until then, have a great rest of your evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for a very happy Harry Fletcher, and interesting there, talking about the technical challenge of Rudskogen and really enjoying driving the circuit, but also mentioning keep it calm, keep it consistent. He has not been able to rest today, and that's thing to pull a gap like that. Many would say, well, he's running away with it, but you've got to remember, he's got to keep delivering those laps time and time again, and you look at his lap times. And what's very impressive is, as such a technical circuit, his laps have typically been all within about 4 tenths of each other over the distance in clear air. That is not an easy feat. So that consistency really shining through. And, well, we look forward to seeing at Oschersleben another circuit, which is definitely going to feel a bit like Rudskogen in terms of its technicality, where he can make it 6 wins in 6, because right now, he's proven to be the man to beat. But, of course, here we've got plenty more interviews to come. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to be cutting over to one of our next drivers, and I believe we're going to be coming to Finley Secker very shortly, so bear with us a brief moment, and we're going to be bringing Finley in to the interview room and catching up with a man who definitely today has had a bit of a challenging day in the office. And well, without further ado, joining me now in the interview room is none other than Finley Secker, and as we say, good evening to Finley. Finley, a tough day today after the heroics of Snetterton in race number 2. A great qualifying performance, a great race number 1 as well, and in race number 2 it all seemed to fall apart. I mean, are you feeling happy, sad, mixed emotions? How do you summarise it?
It was a tricky race 2, I'd say. Race 1, pretty good, finished second, Harry just ran away with that. He had the pace. I somehow found a lap for quali that I didn't know I could do. Yeah, race 2, a bit unfortunate. The rear came loose. They only got MX-5's only got like skinny tires, so like very low traction, and I just lost the rear coming through there. Tried to catch it, hit a couple cars, and it kind of put me down the order too much. But I regained like 3 positions, I think, or something like that. So I'm not too angry with it, but I was leading, so not too happy with race 2.
Oh, indeed. I can appreciate your frustration. I'm sure everyone listening at home can definitely also echo on that. But let's talk about perhaps more of a positive side of the story. Qualifying today, 4th place on the qualifying order. A respectable lap from yourself. Were you happy with your qualifying?
I was actually very happy with my qualifying. I don't remember what the lap time was, but I know there was like almost a second that I could have found. Because I don't know where it was, but in the practice session before the qualifying, I just found some very strange pace that I've not had before, and set like a very, very fast lap, even by my standards. And yeah, I don't know how I did that, but in qualifying, I slipped up lap 2. I spun. So I got some new tyres and went out for another lap. But yeah, very happy with qualifying. I think that was 4th in the end, and then race 1 start. It just all went good for me. Just pass again.
Well, I was going to say, with regards to our race number 1, we did see you enjoy an absolutely brilliant battle for that 2nd place in that gradually went your way. And I do believe it was a tangle with none other than, if I just double check and make sure I get this right, it was a bit of a tangle with none other than Craig McCracken. I mean, the 2 of you were inseparable.
You say that though. I wasn't really pushing because I saw lap, I think it was like 5, 6 maybe, his rear tires were starting to get warm, and he was starting to almost drift through the corners as he had very low traction. And in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to get Harry. There's no point in trying to overtake him quickly to get Harry, so I'm going to just stay behind him. And would you know, a couple laps later, he loses the rear, goes very wide, and I just go up the inside and yeah, just get the position. So I think with races like that where there's no way you're going to get person first, Harry rapid, so yeah, I just was able to capitalize on Craig's mistakes, and yeah, very, very happy with 2nd. That probably put me up into the top 3 in standings, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Oh, indeed. A huge result for yourself. And then going into race 2, as you mentioned earlier, it all went a bit wrong in what was the early portion of the race. I mean, we spoke to Harry from his perspective, saying that he'd seen that everyone was sliding loose, yourself included, that he went around the outside. But I mean, was there a point where you sort of realised that it was going to come loose, and at that point you were more passenger rather than driver?
I watched back the incident, and it was very silly for me. I didn't have too much pressure from behind. I had another like 15 minutes left, so I could just very easily have just held back and then not gone for any silly moves, and it's very silly for me. It just, yeah, I mean, going into the session, I hadn't found any pace. Every lap I'd be doing something wrong, so I was expecting some kind of incident like that to happen, and yeah, I'm very glad that it didn't end in me in a wall and, you know, like multiple cars out of the race, I don't think. So, yeah, I'm very upset that it happened. You know, I could have been on that top step for race 2, but it's fine. You know, there's not really much I can do about it now. I'm just gotta hope that doesn't happen in the next rounds, because, yeah, just be clever and not crash.
Well, like you say, I mean, at the moment, obviously, you're really feeling down about it, but let's move on to talking about the next round. Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben, a similar circuit to Rudskogen in terms of the flow of the corners. You've looked quite quick here at Rudskogen, so surely there's going to be more podiums, if not that first win in Germany.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm very looking forward to Oschersleben. It kind of still is a track that I practice a lot of the cars on, so if, you know, there's a car that I'm not too good at, I'll just load up Oschersleben, do some laps in that, because I love Oschersleben. It's a great track. I did the production car challenge event about a year ago now with Josiah Annies, I think it is, in Drive Lounge, and we did very good. We did it in the G86, which I've done previous championships on. But I'm looking forward to Oschersleben. It's it has a similar flow to Rudskogen, and but it's a much safer track. There are more overtaking opportunities, which might be bad for me, but at the same time could be good to get more positions if I fall down the order a little bit.
Well, we'll have to wait and see whether it works out in your favour at Oschersleben. But until then, and just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
Yeah, a big thank you to Drive Lounge Racing. They've been giving me little pointers for this track, so I've not been feeling too confident for this track. And jumping on voice chats with them always a very nice thing to do. Yeah, big shout out to Drive Lounge for just helping me with this and, yeah, supporting this. And then another big thanks to friends and family. You know, they watch the stream, they support me. You know, they ask me questions, and it's very happy for me to have that kind of support watching these streams, etc. So yeah.
Oh, well, Finley, that's lovely to hear that friends and family behind you, tuning and supporting you. We'll see you at Oschersleben to see whether you can break your win dark. But until then, have a lovely rest of your evening, and thank you once again.
Thank you. I'll see you next week, hopefully.
So here and there, for an understandably a little bit downbeat Finley second 9, it was a golden chance to take his first win of the season in race number 2, and a mistake that, in a way, as he mentioned there, pressured himself into making it when the pressure wasn't really there. But of course, we all do these things, and this is part of the Rookie Sportscar Cup. They're learning how to deal with that pressure out there in a leading position. And, well, when you've got such fierce competition behind you from the likes of Harry Fletcher, also Jaden Innes and company, where it's so easy to put a black cloud over your mind, and, well, for Finley Secker, he'll be looking to bounce back at Oschersleben. But we've got a couple more interviews to come, ladies and gentlemen, and, well, very shortly, we're going to be going to our third interview of the evening, and it's going to be none other than Max Moron, who is going to be joining me in the interview room. So give us a brief moment, and we'll bring Max on in and get to hear his story of the day, and, well, his first podium, of course, as well. So it has been a huge achievement for Max, and, well, I do believe in he comes into the interview room. And as he does now join me in the interview room, good evening to you, Max. And, well, what a second round of the season. Your first podium and a huge result with it. You must be happy.
Yeah, I'm really happy for this result. I mean, quite unfortunate with this finish in Findlay, but it is what it is. We managed to get people on the final lap after we overtook a spinning car. But yeah, I'm really happy for this podium. I'm not really too happy about my qualifying performance. I just don't seem to find the pace. But yeah.
Well, like you say, qualifying doesn't seem to be your strong suite, but at the same time, going from what was 17th in race 1 to 7th, well, sorry, going from 17th to 7th in race number 1, an absolutely huge achievement there. I mean, you must look back and think that's the most places that anybody's gained so far this season.
Yeah, just keeping it calm into corners, just trying to overtake cars that have spun is, I mean, just pure pace alone with keeping it calm on track just makes you gain a lot of positions. So, yeah.
Well, you definitely played it calm in race number 1, but race number 2, you had to get your elbows out a little bit, starting from the front row. I mean, how was that for you? Was it a bit daunting or scary, thinking you're at the front of a very hungry field of drivers?
It was a bit nerve-wracking, as I know that Dutra is a really aggressive driver when it comes to defending, but thankfully he didn't have to defend that much going into turn 1. I went past him.
Well, a move definitely made by yourself, and at that point, leading the race, although it wasn't long before we saw the field start to catch up and all the fighting really kicked off. Was there an objective in mind? Do you think, I'm just going to settle for a podium, or were you still thinking, I'm going to fight to win?
I didn't really think that I should push, as I knew the drivers behind me were way faster than I was. I just let them pass one by one. If they wanted to have a go at me on track, then we could have a bit of a fight, but I didn't really see the need to battle with them as much.
Oh, fair play. A bit of a smart approach being taken by yourself there, not to battle too hard. And, of course, we did have that huge instant that all played out, going through turns 3 and 4. Where did you find yourself in that?
I was right behind Findley as he spun, and then I tried going around him, but I also panicked and broke, meaning I think it was Gabriel Dutra who hit me from behind, and then I tried going around Findley, but then he clipped me after he tried rejoining.
Well, a bit of a hectic moment, shall we say, but you got it back together, and in the end, we did see you put on a brilliant fight with Connor Spruce and Gabriel Dutra for that 3rd place. I mean, you were going for that podium in the end. It must have felt special seeing that checker flag and knowing your name's on the podium.
Yeah, it felt really special. My first podium. I know I've got the pace for a podium, but the results will come in the next few rounds. I just got to find some pace going into Oschersleben, as I know it's not really a strong track for me, but hopefully the results will come.
Oh, now you say Oscherslaben's not a strong track for you. Is there a particular reason? Is it perhaps lack of practice, the style of the circuit?
I just don't really like the nature of the circuit. I mean, turns 1 and 2 are really similar to turns 1 and 2 here in Rudskogen. But I just don't like the way that it flows. It's a really technical circuit.
All fair play. Well, we look forward to seeing whether you can take on a circuit you're not a big fan of and bring home another podium. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast?
My family and friends, especially my family, they've been really supportive of the of me in this championship. I really want to say a big thank you to my dad as well, as he told me to keep it clean. I took those words into my head and just didn't really battle much with anyone.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm sure your dad's very proud of you, Max. And if he's tuning in right now, Mr. Moron or Moron Senior, well, your son's definitely done you proud today. Max, we'll leave it there. Congratulations on your maiden podium and your best round of the season so far. We'll see you at Oschersleben. But until then, have a lovely rest of your evening.
You too. Thank you.
And well, what a timing as well. We literally see him doing the celebratory donuts there as we complete our interview of Max run. I mean, that could not have been timed any better. I promise you that wasn't scripted, ladies and gentlemen. And you can hear it in his voice. He's actually feeling quite emotional there, I reckon, right now. So proud of what he's achieved. Although, to be fair, I think stitching that front bumper back on may not be too proud of that, but that's a digression. And well, talking about the fact qualifying doesn't know what quite he needs in terms of ingredients to get a better qualifying lap together. But in the races, came through the field in race number 1 and in race number 2. Just hearing the words of his dad there saying, keep it clean. And he did exactly that and will stayed out of trouble all the way through to the finish and bring home that 3rd place with some great battling right at the end. But ladies and gentlemen, we're almost at the end of our interviews. We've got one more to come. And well, we're going to be coming now to none other than Jaden Ennis. And indeed, taking his first podiums of the season as well. And let's chat to the man who, from Canada, will be very happy with his performances today. No doubt about it, as he now joins me on air, ladies and gentlemen. And as he comes into the interview room, good evening to you, Jaden, and thank you for waiting so patiently. What a round for yourself. Not just your first podium of the season, your first 2 podiums of the season. You must be absolutely pleased.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I put so much practice in for the first round, and I didn't really get a lot out of it. Like, I finished 4th on the first race, and second race was 11th because I spun, obviously. But this race I put in like half an hour, and I just hopped straight into the sim, and I was just on the pace immediately. So I am very much happy with that.
Oh, you deserve to be. And let's talk a little bit about your qualifying. 6th in the order. Now, I don't think anybody was touching Harry Fletcher's time, but did you think you could have perhaps been on the front row or even the second row?
I think it was definitely possible because that pole lap was on my first lap, so the tires were cold. So I kind of messed it up after the second and third lap, so it definitely could have improved quite a bit. But I was still happy with having 6th on the first lap because I was assuming I was going to fall down a lot more.
Well, a bit of a challenging one with regards to qualify in terms of weighing out where you'd be versus where you may fall down. But that 6th place gave you a great starting point. And in race number 1, we saw you go on the attack quite early on, but it wasn't easy to get on that podium.
Yeah, it was the pace was decent, I would say. I needed to be a bit patient in the first race just to let everybody kind of get their footing in and then start to make proper moves once everybody's a little bit more stretched out. But yeah, and the main thing I was just aiming for was to get settled down and then just start going one after the next, start pushing people, putting the pressure on, and yeah, it came out really well.
Oh, no doubt about it. In the end, bringing home that podium. I mean, come the finish line, was there a bit of a jump up and down in your sing rib, perhaps, thinking, I've finally done it?
Yeah, because in SRI, I was hoping I'd get an interview with you, but I didn't for obvious reasons. But I finally managed to get one here, and I was very, very excited to come across the line.
Well, to be fair, you got one. So then going into race number 2, starting from 6th place again. I mean, it's poetic that you'd start 6th in both races. Had you set your sights on another one at that point, or just thought, just ride the wave and see what happens?
Yeah, the thing is in race 2, I knew that Fletcher and Secker was behind me, so I knew that eventually they were going to try and push it. So I played it like extremely patiently. I lost like 2 moves at the start, so I was more so waiting for them to kind of clear the way, and I just kind of follow behind them. And obviously, with the slower people being at the front, it caused a lot of incidents ahead. So I got pretty lucky on 2 occasions. But yeah, it was just a case of being more patient than the first race. And after that, I kind of just was very patient on the last lap with Connor, obviously, and just managed to get the move done last second.
Well, indeed. And speaking of that move, literally towards the end of the race, we saw yourself, Max Moron, and Connor Spruce constantly fighting back and forth. One of the things that I think it was Max, no, it was Finney Secker mentioned in his interview that he did notice on what was Craig McCracken that tyre life was becoming a bit of a factor. Were you noticing that in your battle with Connor Spruce and Max Moron, that perhaps you had a better grasp of your tyres compared to the other 2?
Yeah, I took it a long time to make that move. So over time, I kind of just started to realize where I could get a little bit more than them on the tires, at least, because they were falling off, not a lot, but they still you could tell that there was something missing. But once once he made that mistake, I forget where it was, but he made a mistake on like a left-hander. He kind of spun out, and I waited behind him. So once I got that close enough, I was very much like, I have to kind of make a desperate move somewhere and then just hope the tires make it. So I kind of did over time figure out where that tire drop-off was, and I used it to my advantage.
Well, you used it to your advantage and didn't just end up back on the podium, but you ended up second on the podium. I mean, at this point, you're pretty thinking to yourself, on that logic, 3, 2, then 1, first race next week, you got to be taking the win at Oschersleben.
Man, Harry Fletcher is just, he's really quick. So, I mean, anything is possible, obviously, but I'm not going to bank on it for sure. I'm just going to try and rack up as many podiums as I can and have some good points to see if I can finish in the top 3 by the end.
Oh, fair play. I'm liking that thought process. And in terms of our circuit for next week, is it a circuit you've got much experience of?
A little bit in F4, but not much, I'd say. Obviously, it is a free track, so I've done it at the very beginning when I started a couple months back, but yeah, I've moved on from that a long time ago, but I think I'll do okay.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing you take to Oschersleben in a week's time and give it your all to pursue more podiums and chase that aim of being in the top 3 of the season. But just before we do let you go, Jaden, is anyone you'd like to give a shout out or what I mentioned to on the broadcast?
Yeah, my boys at Cooped Motorsport, they're my boys, obviously. They're basically the reason I've been here, the reason I'm on iRacing to begin with. So shout out to them. That's the only person I really got to shout out.
Oh, fair play, Jaden. Well, I'm sure the Cuda Motorsport team will be very grateful for you giving them a shout out. And I know you're flying their colours proudly this season. But with that, congratulations once again on a brilliant double podium. Your first 2 podiums of the season. We'll see what you can do at Oschersleben. But until then, have a great rest of your day.
Take care.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for a very happy Jaden Innes to complete our interviews, and from a rather emotional Max Moron celebrating that first podium in his second race of the day here, to Jaden Innes saying that after he missed out on the opportunity to take that podium at Snetterton, he really wanted it today, and he's finally made it happen. I've seen Jaden race in some other series before, as he's been gradually building his iRating. I can tell you one thing, he's one of those drivers who's always looking to improve, and here today, we'll mention there the fact he's quite happy with qualifying, finding himself right in the thick of the order, but knowing that time he'd set was on essentially a first lap out there, so there's more time available but couldn't quite get it together, but he's more looking towards the races. And how did he show what pace he had in race number 1? Yes, there were some elbows out moments. Yes, there were some contacts, but also there was some very strong driving from the number 2 Canadian driver, and that enabled him to get to the podium, of which he then followed up with another in race number 2. But he took it as it went in race number 2. He mentioned there, 9 he had the 2 quicker drivers of both Finley Secker and also Harry Fletcher behind him, and then letting them go and just following them through the field. And as we saw there with the big incident that happened at turns 3 and 4 midway through the race, sometimes just playing it safe and smart can be just as powerful as being quick out there. And for Jaden Innes, he's not here necessarily to win the championship. He's here to make sure he finishes inside the top 3 this season, and he's definitely on course to doing so. But with that, ladies and gents, that completes our interviews for today. And, well, let's give you a quick recap of who we've spoken to. And as we can see, we've had 4 brilliant interviews with 4 of our drivers. Started off, of course, with a double winner today, Harry Fletcher, and a very happy day in the office, the EFR Rotor Racing driver. And I want to tell you one thing, 4 wins on the bounce since the start of the season. Can anybody slow him down from achieving perfect scores? Well, somebody's going to need to find some ingredients soon, as otherwise he could be running away with this championship. Finley Secker, then we came to him, and well, what a day it was for him after a great start in qualifying and a great race number 1 result. That's second place. Race number 2, not his finest hour, but to be fair, he'll bounce back for it, I'm certain, at Oschersleben. Then we came to Max Moron, our third interview, the Sim It Esports racing team driver. Talking about the fact qualifying was his weakness, but his strength was in his ability to come through the field and earn himself his first podium. And how about that? And then we came to Jaden Innes, and talking to the Canadian driver just only moments ago, and mentioned the fact he's finally got that podium on the board. And when one came, another one came, and well, he's going to keep on pushing for more at Oschersleben. Proud of what he's achieved here over at Rudskogen. A big thank you to all 4 of our drivers for their time in the interview room, and indeed very grateful to have so many volunteer, and we look forward to more interviews as the season goes on. And well done to them and all the drivers for their brilliant racing today. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is of course now time for us to wrap up and look ahead to next time. And next time out, well, in round 3 of 5, we make our way to Germany for the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, the home of the very sharp 90-degree Turn 1, which of course John Clennon has a few words to say about, but we're not allowed to say those words on this broadcast because we need to make sure we keep it child-friendly. But I'll tell you one thing, it's a circuit, much like Rudskogen today, full of technical sections, but also some slightly longer straights as well. And add it all together, you've definitely got a circuit in Germany that is going to continue the theme of what is a challenging circuit for what is our Rookie Sportscar Cup drivers and also our Sim Racing Collective hot hatches to really go batting that, and they'll be battling the circuit as much as they'll be batting each other. Of course, a huge thank you to everyone who's tuned in today and to all of our drivers out there in both our main and also support series. And well, ladies and gentlemen, as we do get ready to say goodbye, we just want to give a quick shout out, of course, to our official prize partners. Firstly, to Phil, the company established in 2017 by the founder of the world-famous Team Redline and former head of studio at Studio 397, Dom Duhan. Phil is a pioneer of gloves specifically designed for sim racing, setting the standard for performance focused racing gear designed specifically for the sim racing world. Drawing upon the experience of drivers who have had or are still competing in the highest level of sim racing, the carefully selected fabrics of Phil's gloves provide both breathability and lightweight comfort, ensuring your hands stay cool during extended racing sessions. And if you do want to keep performing at your best behind the wheel, do make sure you check out Phil's range of sim racing gloves on their website at www.f33L.gg. We'd also like to give a shout out, of course, to our other prize partner, Simagic, the company founded in 2018 on the basis of the question, how can we bring the thrill of real racing into everyone's home? Simagic has rapidly evolved its product range into a full racing ecosystem, and whether you're looking to get your hands on steering wheels, servo bases, pedals, handbrakes or shifters, every component is engineered in-house and built to reflect the company's commitment to innovation, quality and delivering uncompromising performance when you are racing. So if you want to keep chasing pole positions, podiums or personal bests, why not check out Simagic's range of products at simagic.com. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have been Motorsport UK Esports. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. A huge thank you to the Sim Racing Collective for powering this series, and we will see you in a week's time at Oschersleben for round 3 of 5 on Monday, the 13th of July. But until then, as always, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, like our drivers, remember to stay on track. Good night.
All of them as well. What a move to the 48. Oh, look at this. And onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.